Well, happy Thursday to you. It's George Brauchler right with you here for the next 4 glorious hours on The George Show on 710 KNUS. If you can hear it in my voice, yeah, it's inching its way back towards some measure of normalcy. I hope we get it all the way back. I'll know when I can hit the Steve Perry high notes from any of the Journey songs. So far, still struggling to get there. Day weather-wise, you heard our buddy Don Day talk about it. I want to do a little comparison to yesterday because things have changed. Yesterday, the prognosticators at Super 7, as you know, Channel 7 News, we love, he's Lisa Hidalgo, had cut and pasted, I think, the day before. They had mirror images of the predictions as to the weather. Today, that has changed. Yesterday, the Smarties predicted 32 degrees as a high today. Today, they've changed it. They've gone 37 degrees. That is that's just good math, 5-degree change. And I know there's a dude out there who's really caught up on the Celsius Fahrenheit thing. It's irrelevant. That is a more than 10% fluctuation. That is nearly 20% fluctuation in their prediction. That is remarkable. For Friday, though, they're consistent. 30 degrees with flurries and cold. And then the weekend, they went the samesies on Saturday, 35 degrees. But on Sunday, they've adjusted downwards to 33 degrees. And instead of clouds increase, they've shifted to snow likely. They're starting to get, I think, a better grasp of what's going on. Monday, folks, really, really cold, 27 degrees. I, of course, will experience none of that as I leave town this afternoon for some place called the Middle East. I'll be back in the saddle here on Thursday morning. I think a week from today, I'll be back in. John Caldera, I think, has the helm tomorrow. I have yet to figure out what the rest of the week looks like, but as I know, I will let you know as well. To get caught up on some of the good stuff here too, Billy, yesterday, 2 things took place in my afternoon driven by conversations with Billy. That kind of influence is risky, but it's there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, one of them was a purchase I made, and it was a purchase based on Billy showing me this thing. It's a make it at your home. Some kind of an egg McMuffin maker thing.
It's a breakfast sandwich maker.
Yeah.
Is what it's officially called. It was one of the finds that I came across right before Christmas that has been a huge hit inside the house. And so basically the idea is make your own McMuffins at home. That's basically what it is. Bagel sandwiches, croissant sandwiches, McMuffin sandwiches. You can do those breakfast sandwiches with egg and meat and cheese and vegetables, whatever you want to do. You can make those at home in about 5 minutes.
Now, see,
that's the deal.
In the old days, you would have to stay up to like midnight watching Channel 2 to get the guy with the British accent screaming at you like, oh my God,
yes.
You just put an egg and some bread and cheese in there and look at this. It's the best tasting thing I've ever put in my mouth.
It's just that easy. Yeah,
it's just that easy. Instead, I had Billy, no English accent, and Billy shows me this thing and says, dude, the kids love this thing. It's fantastic. So I'm like, you know what? That's interesting. It's not a bank buster at all.
No, it's really inexpensive.
And you got it for even cheaper than that.
Yeah, it's really inexpensive, and it takes up almost no countertop space.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, so it's tiny. It's smaller than a coffee pot as far as, the width and everything else. It is tiny, so it sits well. It works really well, and the key is you got to get the single one, not the 2, because who wants to make 2 at the same time? It's just too big. Yeah. You don't need to do that. Leave it individually, and everybody can custom make their own. And it's really, really efficient. Yeah. And it's delicious. Yeah.
Well, it arrives. Thank you, Amazon. Okay. And again, if you'll remember, we had a great conversation with Congressman Ken Buck from the 4th Congressional District. Ken doesn't buy anything off of Amazon. Ken doesn't use any Google stuff. I admire that. I'd love to get to that place in my life. I think it's easier to accomplish with Google than with Amazon because, folks, I made that order yesterday after the show. It is going to arrive before 11 a.m. You can't beat that.
Oh, yeah. You can't. I did that recently. I was building, I think we talked about it, building shelves for the cats inside the house. I needed a scratching post. And I saw on Amazon. I was like, oh, okay, I'll order that one. That's, good price, everything else. I liked it. I could have made my own, but I liked the finishing on the top and the bottom. And the thing said, it'll arrive tomorrow between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. I'm like, yeah, sure. Right. I was up at 6:30 the next morning, and I'm going over and I flip off the outside light, and son of a bitch, there it is.
That's
sitting
crazy.
on the front porch. I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah, it's hard to beat. Yeah.
The other thing we did, again, my son, Grandma Lama Ding Dong, texted me because he's the guy that is the idea guy and says, Dad, can you please bring home a sled of some kind? And then I talked to Billy, and Billy had some ideas. Now, Billy, we did not end up going to the secret place that you told us, but you did inspire us to get out there, and we found a school nearby that has like a giant hill that kind of runs down the side of it. And one of the things that drew our attention to it was, as we're driving down the road, making our way towards the secret place you told us about, there were 2 other cars there sitting there, and we could see kids and a couple dads going down. And we're like, whoa, whoa,
let's take this one.
Let's take this one.
Let's see what happens.
And so we quickly pulled over, hijacked. It's a huge hill, so hijacked our little portion of it, and it was great. I got 2 sleds from Walmart.
Now, I know we talked, did you plastic or inflatable?
Okay, now the inflatable, I wanted inflatable.
Yeah.
And of course, first off, the Walmart people are smarter than I am, and it defeated me. So they put all this stuff right at the front.
Oh.
So I missed it because I walked right in thinking I better go find where they have. So I'm walking around sporting goods and the stuff. And I'm like, where's the sleds and stuff? And they're like, right up front, you had to walk right by them. I'm like,
you walked by them already?
Oh,
sorry.
And I mean, there's nothing you could say other than I'm not drunk.
You
know, and walk back and take a look.
Yeah.
And they had options. They had the kind that you sit in that are more boat looking. You know what I mean? They had the round ones. I had round ones as a kid, but metal back in the day when things were metal.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was rough because the metal dents and you end up anyway. And then they had the inflatables, but they were like Frozen and Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
And those are cool, Spider-Man, but it's for 3 and above. And I looked at the size with the kid on it, and I'm like, this would cover like 1.5 cheeks of me. You know, there's no way the kids are going to be able to pull this off.
Those are little kid ones.
I need a legit one. Yeah. So we ended up with the little sleddy looking ones. And I coerced Jeff into cajoled. Jeff coerced is too strong into wanting to do it. And we threw on the winter gear and stuff and headed out to do this thing. And it was a blast, but it was freaking cold, Billy. I mean, after about a half dozen or so runs, you were really starting to feel it like, oh my goodness. And all the things you do that you take advantage of, like if there's an opening anywhere near your face or neck, you know instantly, because these clowns are going face first, head down, head down, face first on this thing. And so it's going right into the neck, right into the face. It's freezing over the glasses and stuff like that. And we had a couple races. Dad won none of them, despite my girth. These guys are just too, I don't know, aerodynamic.
You would have thought that gravity would have helped you out.
I know. Man, I was counting on it.
Yeah.
I was counting. The problem is they got to start quicker. Like I started from the seated position and these guys got a little mow behind them and I could just never catch them. In fact, on the second run against Jeff, I ended up eating it.
Oh no.
The problem is I had this great video. I have Graham filming it. Graham doesn't understand the idea of zoom.
Oh,
so as I'm going down the hill, it's just 2 little dots you see going down this hill, and Graham doing the play-by-play, going, "Oh, look at that! Jeff's got an early lead, but no, Dad can. Oh, look at that!" And all you can see are 2 little dots at the bottom of the hill. I'm like, God bless you, buddy. We'll figure it out. But he had a great time, and then we went and warmed up and grabbed ourselves some super nutritious Popeyes chicken.
Oh, excellent!
And that took us well into the afternoon when it became time to work again. So that was the update from yesterday's snow day. I still think the kids could have gone to school, but they were so happy to not do it.
Yeah, I think we could have gone to school, at least a late start. That could have been accomplished. Excuse me. And I'm curious. So I wish they would have had the larger inflatables. So you don't have the experience of the inflatable sleds, do you?
No, don't have it.
You got to get those. That is the key. They don't last, but they are much better just because of displacement and how they slide down the snow. They always will work better in most snow conditions than any of the plastic ones. So if you have a choice, always go with the inflatables. Again, that's from years and years and years of sledding. I'm sorry you didn't get to the secret.
No, I want to save that one. We want to do that for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to talk. I'm not going to disclose the location on the air because I discovered this thing probably about 7 years ago based on where I was working. And very, very few people in the Denver metro area are privy to the fact that one of the best sledding hills in the metro area exists in the Denver Tech Center. But you have to know where to look. This is such a big hill, and you can gain so much speed. My son, who was in college, broke his collarbone on that hill.
Oh, that's a good hill.
Yeah.
That's a really good hill.
We now refer to it as Broke Collarbone Mountain. Yeah. In our house, that's what we call it. So, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. That's such a great reference, too.
Yeah, and there people will actually
Broke
when we were
collarbone now.
when we were there, there were teenage kids that at the time were students of a local high schools, I'm certain. And the way the broke collarbone happened was they had set up ramps that they had built part of the way down the
God
hill.
bless these
So,
American
yeah,
entrepreneurs.
it was fantastic, and they were really good ramps.
Ingenuity.
Yeah, and so my son did a couple of them, and then then landed wrong, and so broke collarbone. Yeah, that was fun. That was, and the best part about it was I'm taking the kids sledding, and my wife's like, "Oh, that's great, that's wonderful." And then I call her later. Yeah, we're going to the hospital. She's like, "What? What?" And so that was a really fun conversation.
Oh my sweet goodness, man. That's a good hill.
Yeah, it's a really good
when
hill.
the neighborhood kids have added to it, that's something right there.
Oh yeah, it is. And also any people that are out there parenting, here's a little tip that I gave George yesterday, is that rather than making your child or having you walk all the way down that hill and drag that sled up by holding it, go and grab an old shoelace and wrap the shoelace around one of the handles in a loop. And then what you do is you just grab the shoelace at the end of the run, and then you just pull it up behind you as you're walking. Much easier. Only because I had some lazy damn children that made me carry the sleds up the hill a lot. So I had to figure out a system.
Yeah, the hill was a challenge, although these sleds came with kind of ropes. I don't know how to describe it, which was very helpful.
That's nice.
But the hill itself, I had to dole out some boots because the kids' feet have gotten bigger than the boots that we had before. We're just not doing that much.
Yeah.
And so I loaned out the fact that my sons are now wearing my shoes at 13 and 15. Ridiculous. I mean, Jeff's feet are already bigger than mine. I'm like, what happened? I've got these like little geisha feet, like my parents bound them when I was a kid or something. And these kids are just growing fast as weeds. So I doled out Daddy's big boy boots, and I took some hiking boots that I had somewhere I found, and I threw them on. The hiking boots really did not appreciate the snow as much as I thought that they might.
No, and there's no insulation there.
No, so it was cold, but it was also slick. So it was like, and this is, I now recognize this, and I'm not going to do this to my dad anymore.
Yeah.
Like whenever I see my dad have a misstep or something that happens, I'm like, "Hey, Dad, you okay?"
Yeah.
I think I'm being a helpful son. It is really demoralizing because it's like, am I that? So there's Jeff at the top of the hill. As I'm walking up, I slip, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, of course, I'm a man. Of course I'm okay. I slipped.
I didn't fall.
Like, don't ask me if I'm okay. I'm a big boy."
Yeah, I was just testing you.
Like I'm the one that asks you if you're okay. You don't ask your dad if he's okay. And I started thinking, oh my God, is that what my dad feels like every time? I'm like, "Hey, Dad, you all right there? Dad, you okay?" Do you know, like, am I being that guy?
Yeah, am I that?
I hear it in my son's voice, and I'm like, what? I'm not that old, dude. Like they're afraid I'm gonna fall down the hill. Like,
exactly.
How do you get out of bed in the morning, Dad? Is there a special lift in the room or something?
Does Mom have to put you in that truss? And
does the dog drag you to the bathroom? I mean, how do you do
How does this happen?
Unbelievable. But it was a great day to do that, and then came and crashed a little on the couch doing some work, which I appreciate doing it. The kids, in my mind, I thought snow day means more family time. No, it meant a lot more time of, Graham's down in the basement doing some baseball stuff. Jeff and Trey are in their rooms doing God knows what on either YouTube or vids or something. And then we wrapped up with Dad making a little HelloFresh and getting to fire up Field of Dreams, which Graham had said,
"Oh, nice.
I remember seeing it years ago. I don't really remember it." And we put it on, and it was great. It's such a good movie. I cannot believe it is 35 years old this year.
Oh, wow.
It's impossible.
Jeez.
Impossible. I think it was 1988 or something.
Man.
Just hard to imagine. But I told him as we're getting towards the end, if you remember that movie, I said, this scene right here gets your dad every single time. And it's that last scene where he's told he can't go into the corn with and he's upset. He's like, "I've done all this stuff, and I did this for that. What's in it for me?" He's like, "Is that why you did it, man? You did it for you?" And he's like, he can't bring himself to say it, but you can see he says no. And just as he's about to walk off with his family, turns around, and there's that catcher taking off his gear. It's his dad as a young man. And he had left, if you remember from the story, he'd left in a tiff with his dad and never gets a chance to make amends before his dad dies. And they get to have that catch. The last lines in the movie, "Dad, want to play catch." And he says, "I'd like that." And that's how the movie ends.
Yeah.
I said to Graham, I'm like, "Man, that gets me every time." He comes over and gives me a big old hug. And I said, 2 best baseball movies that I can think of. And Bull Durham's a good baseball movie, but it's different. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I said, "Are that and The Natural?" I said, "Son, do you know what they both have in common? They both end with the dad playing catch with his son.
Oh, wow.
So it's just such a big thing. And I remember that playing catch with my dad, and I know Grandma will remember that, but it was just a great moment to wrap up the evening. So it was a good day yesterday.
Oh, that's really cool.
Day. Yeah.
I'm sore. I spend way too much time shoveling snow.
Oh, buddy.
We used to have a snowblower, and then I inherited another snowblower. So I gave away the original snowblower, which is small, but then the larger, newer, better snowblower worked once and then died. And because it was a hand-me-down, and so have not had a snowblower since then. And none of the boys are home. And yeah, like the girls are going to do it. My wife came out and helped me brush off the cars, but I shoveled our driveway, our walk, and then I shoveled the driveway and the walk to the people that live across from us.
Look at you.
Yeah,
Holy big heart. What's going on there?
I was out there for hours. Just hours. Yeah. But the nice thing is later in the afternoon, we got a couple of guys in the neighborhood that have the bigger snow blowers, and they went back and forth and did the walks for everybody a couple of times, which is nice because I had accumulated an extra couple of inches there. So when I get home today, I get 2 more driveways to shovel. That's going to be fun.
My friend, I went with the new Denver plan of SOL. Of the Soul.
Nice.
I went with the Soul plan that Kyle Clark talked to us about yesterday on that great clip you found. That is magical, man. That's how it works out. Maybe we play that here in this segment. I don't know, just to remind people.
It was well done. Oh, I don't have it prepped. Yeah, I don't prep. I'll have to get to it.
Yeah, we'll have to get to it later. But it was a genius thing. And again, I said this yesterday when we played it, I think in the 9. There isn't a lot that we find common ground with sometimes with people in the mainstream media, and Kyle's no exception. But when they get it right, man, you want to give them credit for it. And this one was genius, in my opinion. Especially if you live or drive around Denver, you know exactly what this cat's talking about, man.
Absolutely.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
We'll try to find that for later. Now, listen, we got to cut away for a break. When we come back, though, we get to the most anticipated, best produced, best loved portion of the show. As you know, it's the Thorpe Report, and you choose the news. Now, I won't be here mañana, which of course is Spanish for tomorrow. We're not going to do the loser thing this week. These are all fresh.
These are all fresh. Yep. All these are fresh. Yeah. In fact, here, right. Yeah. Smell it.
They still news. Have the new you choose the news smell on them.
Yeah. I think the ink is still wet.
And then there's a lot of news to talk about after that we can talk about for the rest of the morning. And of course, because it's my last day in the saddle of the week, I just want to hear from you. I just want to have conversation with you. So here's the deal. We're back on YouTube. Go check it out. Go to youtube.com. Oh, Billy, I didn't even get to the lids thing because you have one I don't, and there's a reason.
I know. Why. What first? Explain your tardiness. Why do you not have?
So
why are you not participating in this group experience?
I deliberately went without the hat so that I could highlight the shirt.
So it was deliberate, huh?
This was deliberate. This was Trey got me a gift for Christmas, but it was late coming. It just a late delivery, and so I finally got it yesterday, and it is this shirt right here, which. You got to give it to your son. Says,
that's good.
I have a face for radio. And I thought, I love you, buddy. Thank you. Thank you for thinking of your dad in those terms. And so I wanted to rock that shirt and not distract from it with the dome cover. But Billy, I see you are rocking one. I'll be back on it when I come back.
Yeah, I've got this is a Mickey Mouse. It's a Disney hat. I wear this today because it's a little bit, and I actually wore this one yesterday as well, but we didn't do the video thing, which is good that we didn't make let's drive all the way in and do all the other crap. But I wear it because it's kind of a wool cap. It's like an old baseball cap, but it's a little bit warmer. And so I go with some of the heavier hats like this when I need to. The only thing is you can notice it's got a really, really hard bend in the bill. So this is a mid-90s, I think, is 90 to mid-90s to late 90s is when this was done. And Disney somehow just curled the crap out of the bill. So that's why it's curled so much. It wasn't me that did it at home.
Where'd you get it?
I got it at, this one was from, I don't remember if it was Disneyland or Walt Disney World. I don't remember
Big difference. You're across the country.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've got to remember where the trip was. I want to say this is Walt Disney World. That's when I got this one. But yeah, it's just a Mickey Mouse baseball hat. I just liked it because it was gray and black and said Mickey on it. And I needed a hat. And so that's the reason. And since we're doing shirts, here's my shirt. My shirt is actually an REM special edition shirt from the band REM when they were doing the album The Great Beyond for the movie about Andy Kaufman. This is a promotional shirt that was sent out to radio stations promoting that particular venture, which is weird because they go and they make the movie and they do The Great Beyond when originally the song Man on the Moon is actually the one about Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, that's right. The Man on the Moon. Yeah.
So it's weird that they then had to write another song about Andy when they had already written the one song, and kind of weird. But yeah, this is my Andy Kaufman.
So you're
REM shirt.
rocking both. Maybe I should have
Yeah,
gone with the
I
dome
do.
thing. I just didn't.
This
I
is
thought
just
to
it's just
myself,
this is just a big fleece shirt that is just really, really warm, and you know, it's kind of a it's just very unusual. I've never seen anybody else have another one of these because they probably only sent out 8,000-9,000 of them, with the album.
That's
So,
again, you're good
yeah.
at finding those limited edition
Yeah.
things. I don't know what the temperature is in the room that you're in.
Oh, I'm on your. The thing is, here's the thing is, our two rooms are on the same HVAC system. Everybody else gets a different temperature, so it's normal outside that door. It's actually normal temperature. In here, it's like 68.
I'm quite certain that the box that I'm looking at that says thermostat is a lie. It's just a box someone put on the wall with buttons. You can set it to anything. It doesn't matter. It's not attached to anything.
It's just to make sure that the host and the producer here feel better. Like we feel like we have some sort of power over our environment, and it's just all an illusion, which is normally like the rest of my life.
I don't know that there's an FCC compliance issue here, but if I use the phrase headlights are on, I think folks know I am at risk of ruining this great shirt.
Yes, you are. It's not good.
Or chafing uncontrollably because the box on the wall says 70. That is a lie.
It's a total lie.
That is, if there's some other unit of measure that's not Fahrenheit or Celsius where 70 makes sense, we don't know what it is. But that 70 is a flat out lie. If it's north of 62, I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
And now I wish I had the hat just to keep the heat in.
I mean, it kills me. It kills me that the people here, both that work here and then cleaning, they close the doors at night. And so when I walk in here in the morning, it's like 60 degrees.
Unbelievable.
It is so cold in just these two rooms. Yeah. Everything else, it's we're out of the dog, we're out of the sun. It's wonderful. It's happiness.
Yeah,
it's bluebirds.
Nice.
It's little animals running around and they're feeding you treats and
singing.
No, here
it's sing.
Yeah, here no. It's like hanging meat. Yeah.
I guess I'd prefer us to do like the hot yoga version of this. I'd be happy to come in and just be baking in my own sweat. But I presume they're going to save that for the summer.
No, yeah.
Like we're going to one up nature. Oh, did you think it was cold outside?
Yeah.
Try this booth, and then in the summer when we hit 100, they'll be like, "Oh, is it hot outside?
Yeah.
Try this."
Yeah, try this one.
I don't know what we're doing, but they're doing a great job at it.
Might explain some of the stains on this chair. I'm just saying.
No, we're going to have to blacklight that. It's going to light up like something out of Tron, I'm sure. Hey, listen, we're going to cut away for a break. We're going to come back with the good stuff. That's the Thorpe Report, and you choose the news. Check us out on YouTube. We're on right now. You can see the shirts. You can see the hats. You can see, sadly, but even though it's a dark shirt, you can see it's definitely cold in here. And you can also hit us. First off, you got to do the subscribe thing to the YouTube thing. Mark Crowley has told me that when we hit whatever magic number that is, that's some arbitrary number that YouTube sets, I don't know what happens, but it makes it seem like they'll turn on the heat or some other thing. They're holding hostage all the creature comforts until we do that. Help get Billy and I a little warmer. Subscribe to that channel. Shoot it around to your friends and your enemies, for that matter, and sucker them into watching this thing. Who knows? Maybe you make believers of them. And then you can also check us out, of course, on the texts on 710knus.com and the 710knus app. You can text us there. It shows up. Graham started asking about it last night. He's like, because he listens to the first hour of the show, Billy, all the time. And in fact, I get a text last night in bed. He's in bed. It's like 9-something. And he says, you mentioned the fact that I brought water bottles in through the metal detector or through security. And I go, yeah, I did. What'd you think? No response yet. I just hope he isn't pissed off by that.
Great.
But so he listens and he's like, Dad, how can I text the show? So I'm like telling him you can do it from the app. He's like, can I just text anything I want? I said, unfortunately, yes, I think you probably can. He said, can I just, what if I text 303-696-1971? I said, that gets you nowhere. There's nothing that can happen. So he can do, if he can do it, if a 13-year-old boy can do it, you can too. We've already got a bunch of texts this morning. Here's someone asking about where's the hill. We can't reveal the secrets. The secrets.
We cannot. No, because if we tell you, then you will go there. And then it ruins the secret hill.
Someone's sending some great little memes here of dude wiping out on these.
But it is hidden inside of DTC, and it is the best sledding hill in the metro area. It's a fantastic. Yeah,
I got to do it. I'm going to do it. Now, listen, I keep threatening we're cutting away. It's really happening this time, folks. Stick around. Of course, we're always willing to have a conversation with you after the good parts of the show are over. 303-696-1971. It's George Brauchler on the George Show, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
George Brauchler right back with you here, 710 KNUS. Holy smokes, Billy. Alexa texted in, she knows the park. Dude, she just nailed it. She said most people don't have any idea that blank was behind the development of the DTC area and how this new concept changed the parks. Alexa, I really am starting to wonder if you aren't the Alexa behind the Alexa. This is ridiculous that you know these things.
I love the fact that she knows the park.
Unbelievable. And she also reached out to ask about this, and maybe this is in your news. I don't want to step on it, but unexpected resignation of Jacinda, what's her name from
I do not have
New Zealand.
Yeah,
just weird, abrupt resignation. And then she looks out into the crowd at her fiance and says, hey, let's get married. Which anyway.
Yeah, it's weird. She said that she didn't have the stamina.
Yeah, she didn't have
to continue on and go through re-election. So, okay.
Another quick couple things before I turn it over. This guy texts in, he says, The Bad News Bears is the best baseball movie ever. It's a good one. It's a good one. There's no doubt about it. I love that story. But then he follows up with Warriors as a tight second. If you remember the movie.
Yes, I love Warriors.
That's a baseball movie.
Come out and play.
Yeah.
I love Warriors.
That's laugh out loud funny.
God, I watched that so many times as a kid.
It was so
cool. I was confused when I got to be a little bit older in my teenage years that when we had some of these gang problems, that they weren't thematic. I was really disappointed. They had really tough names, but they didn't have matching costumes, because I had been told that the dangerous gangs in and around New York City were all thematic, that they all would have some sort of thing. Yeah,
that's right. Like the baseball dudes.
Exactly. There'd be a pirate gang. There'd be, it just.
Wasn't there even like an LGBTQ gang or something like that? The lipstick somebodies.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
And that was a heck of a movie.
Yeah.
It was like an escape from New York in a way, but not in a post-apocalyptic world.
Not at all.
Listen, we're about to slip into the Stephen Tubbs thing. I love the fact that guy reviews movies. I think he's going to do another one today or tomorrow. There's no chance that he has the ability to do the movie recall that we do, Billy. It's just because his youth was spent differently.
Yes, exactly. And when we're quality broadcast professionals, that's,
that part you can say out loud. I can't. There's a limitation on that. But let's prove it by sending you right back to Billy with the Thorpe report and the You Choose the News, sir.
All righty. Thank you, sir. Well, as you know, there's a lot of snow out there. Yeah, it's going to be icy road conditions around the metro area this morning. So be careful up there. Your neighborhoods are going to be an absolute sloppy mess. Main roads are, okay. They're passable. In some places, you're even going to find asphalt down at the bottom there. Mixed conditions on top of the highways in the metro. Again, we got some delayed start by many schools that are going to help with getting you to work this morning. Aurora Public Schools among them is on a 1 hour delay. 27J schools are on a 2 hour delay. For some reason on my delay closure list, it says Denver Public Schools are on normal schedule. Why is that on the list? This is a list of delays. You don't put the normal stuff on the list of delays. Again, I'm not in charge of the list, so they didn't ask me.
If people don't see it, they're going to call and be like, I know we're not on the list. Are we able?
Are we able? That's true. We are dumb. We got 9.1 inches of snow that fell out of Denver International Airport, and that was as of last evening. It places our storm at number 8 in Denver's top 10 two-day total snowfalls for January. Seems kind of small at that, but still, it's a lot of snow. Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office elsewhere is investigating after a man said his food from Centennial Taco Bell was poisoned with rat poison. Yeah, the incident happened around 1 p.m. Sunday, allegedly, at the Taco Bell on the corner of Smoky Hill Road and Buckley. Investigators say that a customer was arguing with employees at the drive-thru after learning the soda machine wasn't working. Again, I get questions there. The man received a burrito in exchange for a soda, in addition to the other food that he ordered. Once he got his food, he drove off. Investigators say when the man got home, he did some chores, watched a show, started eating the food he ordered around 7 p.m. Around 7:50 p.m., 911 dispatchers received a call. The man was in the hospital claiming he had eaten rat poison, and that was from his Taco Bell order. Investigators confirmed they saw a greenish-gray substance inside some of the tacos, but at the time, it was unclear what it was. Detectives are now reviewing surveillance video from the restaurant, specifically the way the food was prepared, to see if anything was put into the man's food. Taco Bell is cooperating, and the corporate office released a statement saying, safety of customers, team members, blah, 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 but you know what they're going to say.
What are your questions? Because I have some too.
My question is, there are two questions I have. One, he ate the Taco Bell and then said it was poisoned. How is that different than the normal times that he eats it there? I'm just kind of curious. I've had experiences. The other one is he goes there about 1 p.m. and orders the food and then says he started eating it around 7. Now, I'm not great at math, but I think there's a difference of 6 hours there. So I have some questions about, 1, where and how he was storing the food, and 2, who goes to Taco Bell and then waits 6 hours to eat the crap? Because after like 20 minutes, it's nearly inedible. It's like the McDonald's fries. If McDonald's fries are hot and fresh, they are great. If you wait a half an hour, you could probably use them to build small cabins for mice.
But because it's food spelled with PHOOD, because it's not real food, it could probably last unmolested for weeks and still be just as healthy for you. But the part that gets me is, and I love that you catching the time delay, but this is a guy who is in the drive-thru complaining about a broken soda machine. And it's like, how do you know? Were you on the inside? And if you were on the inside, why did you go through the drive-thru after
and even if he complained and they said, I would like to have the number 7 extra large with extra diarrhea and give me a supersized soda. If he did that, and sorry, sir, machine's closed. Okay.
That could be it.
What are you going to do? Is that the time in which you're going to be like, Rah! Is that when you're going to choose to fight the man? When the soda machine is broken, that's your cause.
I do think this is the problem when you deal with customer service issues right there at the drive-thru. And if you'll remember, and I wish we had the clip there, it used to be part of, actually, it's part of the Grievance Monday, I think, clip that we had, but they screw you at the drive-thru. You used to have to worry about, were they going to spit in your food? This is a different level. But one of the texters here is texting, and I thought about this myself, but I'm glad they raised it. And that is, I'm not sure you get to keep rat poison in the restaurant. Like, I can imagine an environment where the health code people are like, why do you have rat poison here?
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, what's going on?
What are you concerned of, and why is it a 25-gallon bag?
And the other thing that's a credibility killer for me is rats won't eat that stuff.
No.
They're not going to eat.
No. We've seen it in New York. We've seen pizza rat. We've never seen Taco Bell rat.
Taco Bell rat. I mean, look, Ratatouille, they're looking for the good stuff too.
In fact, we got to talk about that. Ratatouille, right at the beginning. It's interesting because that rat gets so sick because of what the guy's cooking that it throws up. That's not possible.
What?
No, rats do not have a gag reflex. They can't throw up. It's part of the reason.
It's part of the reason when you give them, because you're feeding them to the rats.
And I just know that.
To the snakes.
Yeah, that's part of it, because you have to know about rodents, and that's part of the reason why the rat poison works is because they don't have the ability to regurgitate the poison afterwards. So that's why it works. Yeah.
Good God,
it's not because it's just delicious.
No, I was thinking that exact same thing.
I've tried a little bit of it, and it's okay.
Of course.
I mean, the vision returned a little bit later after my left eye.
All of this from a dude. And again, the other thing I should say is, if it turns out to be true that these folks ended up poisoning him, that's a serious charge. And depending upon how the DA's office, and it would be John Kellner who gets this case, that is a felony go to prison kind of charge.
Oh, yeah.
There's no screwing around there. Yeah. That's not like misdemeanor assault. This is much bigger than that. The poisoning thing could be first-degree assault if they label it as a deadly weapon. And if this causes some sort of serious bodily injury, and arguably I think it could have, all of a sudden this guy's looking at 10 to 32 years in the Department of Corrections.
Yeah. Although you do know the defense is going to get up and go, have you tasted Taco Bell?
Yeah, that's right.
Why is this unusual?
That's so funny. Anyway, sorry, man.
No problem. Elsewhere, the city of Littleton has closed the Bemis Public Library after meth that detected in the bathrooms.
What?
Yes, those of you that are keeping count, we are now at three libraries that have had to close because people are doing the drugs in the bathrooms. Great job. Soon they're going to have like a metal detector. Or they're going to have a guy frisking you before you go into the bathroom. And then I have a question. Do I have to tip him? I'm just curious.
Usually you could just get mints or like a comb at some of your nicer establishments.
I love the fact it's the comb in the blue water. I don't know what the blue water is, but
because it makes the comb usable by more than one person, I guess.
That's what they tell you. You have no idea. It could just be so, okay. The head football coach out at Broomfield High School now has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of an ongoing investigation, but we don't know what the investigation is surrounding. Coach Blair Hubbard also teaches PE at the school and was placed on leave December 15th. He's been with the district for more than 6 years. In a letter that was sent to parents more than a month after the administrative action was taken, that's kind of an issue. So more than a month after administrative action was taken, they finally decide to tell the people. They say they're reaching out to let you know about some information we have that'll be in the news So again, until we were going to talk about it here with you and I, they weren't going to tell you they had suspended the. Love that.
This is a guy, though, who was huge. He was the
Yeah.
Broncos High School Coach of the Year.
Yeah, he was nominated for the NFL Don Shula NFL High School Coach of the Year award.
Dude took Broomfield from something like 5-6 to 14-0 in the state title.
Here's the important part about that. Remember how we just talked a minute ago about how the school district and the school decided not to tell you and I the coach was nominated for that NFL award,
right?
After he was suspended.
Well,
yeah, you think that might have been important? You think there might have been some information that we should have told people about beforehand?
This thing had been going on.
Okay.
What they said, though, is that
what do I know?
I'm interested to know what it is because the police are not involved. So that makes me think because these folks are mandatory reporters. And so if they thought there was any sort of untoward relationship between a coach and someone under the age of 18, they would have turned that over to law enforcement.
Yeah.
So this must be something else.
Yeah. I'm wondering what it is. Point shaving. That's my guess. Okay. No, in high school, because, lots of people bet on that. After 7 hours of deliberations, a Denver jury just yesterday found a 30-year-old man guilty of the shooting death of a teenage girl more than 5 years ago.
Oh, geez.
Shamil Jefferson was immediately sentenced to life in prison without parole in connection with the 2017 death of Linda Khashoggi. Also, a man was arrested for allegedly murdering a 26-year-old man in June of 2022. According to the Aurora Police Department, it was around 8:30 on June 20th when officers responded to reports of a shooting near East Alameda and South Jamaica Street. And then officers arrived. They found a gold VW Jetta. Man was sitting inside, suffering from apparent gunshot wound, was taken to the hospital and died. The Arapahoe County Coroner's Office identified the victim as Jeremiah Kennedy, spelled with a C, 26 years old, death ruled a homicide. On Wednesday, they announced Darian Rouse, 28 of Aurora, was arrested for first-degree murder in connection with that death. And finally, a man has died after he was shot in Denver early yesterday. Denver Police Department issued a tweet around 1:56 a.m. saying officers were investigating a shooting in the 5100 block of North Broadway Street. Extent of the victim's injuries were unknown at the time, the department said, but he has since passed away. So, no crime tsunami or anything else.
No,
sure,
nothing.
We need to worry
Nothing.
about, just, things like safe injection sites and stuff like that from the Democrats. I'm sure that, crime isn't going to be because, previously they thought that we should all be able to carry a lot of fentanyl around because that doesn't hurt anybody.
And if you're convicted of car theft and drug dealing, you should be able to carry guns around.
Yeah, you absolutely need to because you need to keep yourself safe. Crime's dangerous. And even when you're committing a crime, you don't know who you're going to bump into that may also be armed. And speaking of dumb decisions, oh, yes, we are about to make the dumbest decision we make every single morning. And yes, it's time to play You Choose the News, where we scour the interwebs for ridiculous stories about us humans and then give them stupid headlines to play this fake radio news game. Why? Well, because they haven't told us to stop yet. As far as we know, nobody higher up the ladder has even figured this out yet because we do it early. All righty, sir. Here are your headlines for today. Headline number 1, do you know who I am? Headline number 2, it's a miracle. Headline number 3, what were the other choices? Headline number 4, deadly printer. Alrighty, sir. Your headlines again this morning are number 1, do you know who I am? Number 2, it's a miracle. Number 3, what were the other choices? And number 4, deadly printer.
I'm going with deadly printer.
Deadly printer. Here we are going to travel all the way to Australia. Yes, because a recent video was shared by a rescue worker because of a call he got from an office building. Yes, this rescue worker got a call from an office building because there was a problem with their printer. In the video from the Australian snake catchers, they are examining the bottom paper drawer inside of this printer where they find an eastern brown snake. Yes, an eastern brown snake is native to South and Eastern Australia and highly venomous. In fact, the eastern brown is responsible for more fatalities in Australia than any other species. They are the second most toxic venomous snake in all of the snakes worldwide. Between 2005 and 2015, they killed, 15 of 19 people that died during that time that were bitten by them passed away. They're responsible for more than 41% of the snake bites across all of Australia. They are grouchy little buggers.
What kind? You know the snake stuff.
Eastern brown snakes. They are very, very temperamental. They don't like to be bothered, and they would much prefer to just bite you rather than to get away. They want to have you get away from.
Will they hurt you if they bite you?
Oh yeah, they can kill you. They're they are the second most venomous snake in the world.
Why are they in printers? What's going on?
Well, it was hiding. It was hiding inside the printer because it was able to crawl into the bottom printer drawer where they store the paper. Somehow it got inside the printer. And when this woman in the office, and again, it's an office printer, she goes to open it up and inside, surprise, snake. And at least she recognized what kind of a snake it was. The only thing...
Didn't kill her, though.
No, it didn't bite her.
Was this at Taco Bell?
It could have been. Maybe they were complaining about the soda.
That's right.
Yeah.
This printer sucks.
The nice thing about it is the Eastern brown snake, they have really, really short fangs. So if you basically have something on like jeans, they can't get through it. So that's the way to stay away from it. So
I haven't been doing a lot of jeans lately near the printer.
Well, it's...
Like I open it with my hand.
Well, that's why we have this rule around the office, and I know you don't like it. That's pants are mandatory. I mean, we still have to have that meeting with HR, but I'm not going to go into any further detail.
I was told just a covering of some kind.
Yeah.
Nothing as specific as pants or the material.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That is what's in the manual for the
that's right.
station. So
we've gone so inclusive.
Yes, your second choice this morning, sir. Do you know who I am? It's a miracle, or what were the other choices?
What were the other choices?
Yeah, what were the other choices? Here we're going to travel all the way to South Korea for a brand new slogan for the city of Busan. Yes, a total of 25,000 citizens participated recently in a survey to pick the slogan of Busan. Yes, they are trying to figure it out. So after they went ahead and took all the votes and counted it up, the winning slogan for the city of Busan is good.
What?
Yeah, that's it. That's what they picked.
Lots
of people said, and
not get your Busan or nothing like that.
No. The other problem is I want to know who was choosing the slogans, because the other two selections were Bridge for All, Busan, and True Place, Busan.
True Place?
Yeah. Again, I guess they went with the only one that's an actual sentence, but okay.
Maybe it isn't. The translation's bad. You know what I mean? When you try to go from Hangul to regular old English, maybe it just doesn't sell. And maybe in the Korean culture, True Town, or what was it?
Yeah,
True City?
True Place.
True Place. Yeah. Maybe people are like, I want to live at True Place.
Maybe people were confused by, the imagination of Walt Disney, and it's the, Magic
not
Kingdom
fake place.
Not fake
True
place. True Place, yeah.
But now it's Busan is good.
Busan, Bridge for All, which seems also rather specific. But so now it's just Busan is good.
My goodness gracious,
and
man.
the thing, people were paid.
These are voters. These are people that pick candidates too.
Yeah.
I wonder if we were to do some sort of thing here, Billy, what would the people say? Like, what would be the caption for Denver? Like at one point it was like, imagine a great city. And then it was everything but an ocean.
Yeah.
And then now what in the hell would you say?
I don't know. Ocean of homeless people, maybe.
Denver is, you know what? Yeah. I don't know, man.
Let's see. Maybe it's steal your first 2 cars, get the third for free.
Oh, actually, the first. That's right. Yeah. Get your third for free. That is fantastic. Because
then after that, you then have to maybe
because you get the idea.
Yeah.
Guy may not be out on there.
Yeah, because the professor wants to respect your amateur status.
So it was my laugh out loud moment. Take my Danny Thomas spit take moment of the State of the State was when Jared Polis was scanning the room looking for him, and he announced, "And I want to thank our great partner in making Colorado safe, Attorney General Phil Weiser." And I spit up all over the phone.
Here's the fun thing. This is what's really fun. Okay, because I'm a dork. I go back on the State of the States, and I go back and I look at the transcript rather than some of the speech.
Oh yeah.
Because here's the fun part. When Polis is calling people out, those are notes in his speech. It tells them where he's sitting. It'll say like seated front left second row.
You got to then look at the video, because there's a moment where he's calling out someone and he's looking around the room pointing.
Yeah, he's looking
like all over.
It tells him where they are. It says this person's sitting,
but he's clearly not reading where they're, because he's looking to the left, he's looking to the right, he's trying to find somebody, and I'm like, oh buddy, I feel for you.
Yeah, it is. They're little notes. They had those too. I saw those. George W. Bush had them. There were a few others. Clinton had them. Clinton had a lot of them on there when he'd call people out. So I always like reading those. Okay, final choice this morning, sir. We have just 2 left. Do you know who I am, or it's a miracle?
Let's go miracle.
It's a miracle. Yes, here we are going to the lovely state of Iowa. Specifically, this comes to us from news station KCCI. They shared a story about how a fire department in Iowa was called to the Enke Funeral Home and Crematory. Details are a bit sketchy, but they've got some audio from a first responder call, which includes the following call from the first responders that showed up at this funeral home. It says, because here's the reason. they got called to a funeral home, which is rather unusual. The problem is the person that was at the funeral home may not have needed to be there. Yes, when the first responders got there, when the fire department arrived at the Yankee Funeral Home and Crematory, the following call was made. Hello, dispatch. Just so you know, the female here that was transported there is deceased, and she most definitely is not deceased. They're in the chapel now, and she is relaxing on a cot.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. As of this report, the woman was transported to the funeral home from a senior care facility. No names have been shared or confirmed at this time. No comment about the situation, but evidently they thought the woman at the senior home had passed away, and she was just having a really, really, really good nap. There's a Monty Python sketch about a parrot that does this as well. Yet. Exactly. Well, there's a Monty Python parrot sketch. No. It's a dead parrot. No. He's just very tired after having
that's right. John Cleese.
Very long squat.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yes. He's pining for the fjords.
He's pining for the fjords.
Maybe that's what she was doing. She was pining for the fjords. All they know so far is the woman was believed to be deceased, and now she is not. I just want to know who made the determination. They didn't even do the mirror foggy thing. They just said, hey, you're dead. I mean, what sort of test did they perform? Did they do the Pope magic hammer thing where they have to hit him in the head 3 times with a hammer?
Is that true? Is that a real thing?
Yeah. Because if you
do it to them while they're awake, it's a crime.
It is. But there's a thing called a Pope hammer in the Catholic religion, and when the Pope dies, in order to make sure that he's dead, they're supposed to hit him 3 times in the head with the Pope hammer.
Isn't that an old song by Tony Orlando? Not 3 times on the Pope if you want me. Something like that?
Oh, I think so. And that is it. That is the end of today's silliness, and you choose the news. As always, George is our winner, and I'm your perennial loser. And
that's also the end of our entire
hour.
hour on the radio. Let's see if the FCC lets us back on, Billy. We're going to cut away for a break. We're going to come back. There's some legitimate issues I want to raise with you as well. Not more legitimate, just legitimate in a different way. You stick around. It's me, George Brauchler, on The George Show. You're listening to 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes, all in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
George Brauchler back with you here, hour 2 of 4 on 710 KNUS. You can hear it, the voices slowly coming back. Less coughs, and I'm just getting, actually, which is weird, worse at catching them. I caught yesterday as I listened to part of the podcast with little Grammy that I missed part of a cough there, and I apologize for that. I can't believe I'm getting worse the better I'm getting, but there it is. A couple things to update from folks texting in. And by the way, I love the texts. Prefer the calls, but I love the text, okay? Says, Billy and his snakes, of course, folks know well Billy's fascination and love for snakes. George, tell Billy it's not Broadway Street. It's just Broadway. Don't know who wrote that headline, but it was not a native. Here's the, I'm going to get this wrong. The Veneno Para Radas Burrito at TB is one of my faves. I don't know if that's a voice to text thing or if it's Latin. I can't believe Taco Bell would engage in Latin. Yo quiero Taco Bell. That's the little Chihuahua. And then someone else texted in the gray green substance was the congealed guacamole topping. Just saying that's real. That could happen. And then someone else, buddy, I love our texters because they will pick up on something that you say and then come back with either some clarification or here's one.
Oh, that's great.
Horses also can't vomit.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. But why do we know that? How do you get to a place in your life where you're like, hey, man, this horse can't vomit? That's like the people that invented cow tipping. How did you get to that point where you put yourself in a position to know that? Look, here's where we're at. There's some stuff I want to talk to you about that's taking place, both at the federal and at the local level. We're going to start federal for this one. As you know from watching the mainstream media news, and I know many of you live and die by that. I'm kidding. There is a growing focus on this idea that there's a white supremacy that is resurgent here in America. And in essence, it gives us this justification for, I think, imparting a lot of woke culture on top of our kids and on everybody else. Is this idea that short of that, we're living in this white supremacist culture. Well, enter Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. She's a Democrat. She's from Texas. Pretty outspoken. You've probably heard of her before. She has now offered into Congress a bill, and it's a specific bill. It's HR House Resolution 61. It's entitled Leading Against White Supremacy Act of 2023. This particular bill does something I have really never seen before, and it is an attempt to rewrite what conspiracy means for a very specific purpose, and that is to be able to criminally prosecute people who put out what they define as white supremacist-inspired hate onto social media or any other platform, and I'll read you the words from it. This is an attempt to create a connection between someone who goes online and arguably says some things that might amount to white supremacy, replacement theory, and I'll give you the details because she spells them out in here. And to say that if somebody listens to that show, and even if they're not inspired by it, motivated, whatever, if they then go out and commit a white supremacy inspired hate crime, which again, I don't know how you prove all that, but you do that, that person that said those horrible things is now criminally liable as a conspirator of that act. Now that twists and turns conspiracy on its head. I'll give you an example. In the state of Colorado, we do conspiracies all the time, okay? We also put it in a statute so you know exactly what it means. So I'm going to read it to you. You can look it up if you want, but it's Colorado Revised Statute 18-2-201. And it says, a person commits conspiracy to commit a crime if, with the intent to promote or facilitate its commission, that's a big one, he, and here's the killer, agrees with another person or persons that they or one or more of them will engage in conduct which constitutes a crime or an attempt to commit a crime, or he agrees to aid the other person or persons in the planning or commission of a crime or the attempt at that crime. So the two big things there are, they must have the intent to promote or facilitate the commission of a crime, And 2, they then must have, and this is the big one, an agreement with that other person. That is an overt agreement, not I heard him say something, I imagine he was speaking to me, so I went out and did these horrible things. That's not an agreement. But here's what Sheila Lee Jackson wants to do. Sheila Jackson Lee, forgive me for screwing that up. According to this bill, it's a short one. You can take a look at it. I found it online. You can too. Section 2 is entitled White Supremacy Inspired Hate Crime. Subsection B of that defines conspiracy. And here's what it says. A conspiracy to engage in white supremacy inspired hate crime shall be determined to exist. And then it gives a pretty traditional definition of conspiracy between 2 or more persons engaged in the planning, development, preparation, blah, blah, blah. Or, now here's the thing, between 2 or more persons, at least one of whom engaged in the planning, development, and preparation. So you have to have the person that committed the crime. Here's the other person. At least one of whom published material advancing white supremacy, white supremacist ideology, antagonism based on replacement theory, or hate speech that vilifies or is otherwise directed against any non-white person or group, and such published material. Now let's get there for just a moment. What this necessarily excludes are racists that are not white. If you had black supremacist groups out there that talked about we need to bring down the white man or whatever, and you know there's groups out there like that, and maybe it's some version of Antifa or BLM or whatever, they're exempted from this because the vilification has to be directed against non-white persons or groups. We have excluded from the victimization category of this ridiculous crime white people. If you're white, do not come looking for protection under this law. It doesn't exist. People can go out there and say as many horrible things as they want to about you. In fact, even go on air and say, we ought to be killing all these people. No criminal liability for you. But this is for non-whites. But wait, I go on. And such published material was published on a social media platform with the likelihood that it would be viewed by persons who are predisposed to engaging in any action in furtherance of a white supremacy-inspired hate crime, or who are susceptible to being encouraged to engage in actions in furtherance of a white supremacy-inspired hate crime. What? How in the world could you know that? You're now going to be on the hook for the things that you say, and you can already see the problems with this. Who's defining what white supremacist ideology is? Who's defining what this white supremacy language or material is? Who's going to define that? And by the way, I grew up in a world where we had something called the First Amendment, and the First Amendment says you can say a whole lot of horrible things to people, and they're not prohibited by the government. Now, this is one that seeks to criminalize words that are spoken on the internet. Now, it is one thing to incite a riot, and that's real. That's a real charge. We have that in Colorado too. And that is a charge that if by your words or actions you cause lawlessness, you encourage it, almost like they've accused President Trump, like, come on, everybody, let's go down and storm the Capitol. No, he doesn't say those words, but that's what's being attributed to him, is that sort of tone, that motive. I don't think it's sufficient. But if you were to say that and things happen, yeah, you're on the hook. That's not protected by the First Amendment. But this is different. This is now saying if you say horrible things about, I guess, non-white people, including talking about replacement theory, and somebody goes out and does something bonkers and commits a hate crime, and they listen to you before doing it, buddy, you could be brought into federal court and prosecuted for a crime. There's more. If that person that publishes that material, here it is, could, as determined by a reasonable person, motivate actions by a person predisposed to engaging in a white supremacy-inspired hate crime, or by a person who's susceptible to being encouraged to engage in actions relating to a white supremacy-inspired hate crime, and was read, heard, or viewed by a person who engaged in the planning, development. Folks, this is a chance to chill speech, and not speech that you and I like, but speech that is protected under the First Amendment. Do you remember that the Supreme Court came down and protected, I think this was in Skokie, protected the ability of these wingnut Klan members to burn a cross in their yard? Now, nothing can be more antagonistic to African Americans than the idea of a burning cross, given the historical thing that the Supreme Court has said, yep, we're going to let that thing stand as free speech. What's this? The fact that is, and by the way, for whatever it's worth, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, African American herself, but to draft a bill that by its very terms takes conspiracy out of the realm of an actual agreement between two people. And now if you just say stuff and some wingnut acts on it, you're on the hook. Where does this end? I mean, is this a good move for the federal government? I don't think so. Do I think it's going to pass? Certainly not going to pass out of the Republican-controlled House. I don't know what the equivalent of a kill committee is in Congress. Here in the state, it's Veterans and State Affairs. But this is outrageous. This should be getting far more attention. This is an African-American woman who has created a law that excludes white people from being protected by this law. White people, by its very terms. And at the same time, seeks to crush the freedom of speech of folks who have views with which we might vehemently disagree, that we might think are poison. But that's what the First Amendment exists for. What do we do with this? 303-696-1971. Got more texters. Please define woke culture. Yeah, if I'm going off the top of my head here, I'm saying it's a culture that subscribes to this idea that there simply are no standards, there are no genders, that everything is a matter of social construct, that white people are the source of all the evil in the world, if not just the United States, that we have to actively, as part of active anti-racism, we have to root out everything that could arguably be defined as privilege. And that is, if I grew up with a two-parent household in a middle-class home because both my parents worked, that is a position of privilege that I had. And I need to be set back and someone else needs to be advanced because they didn't have that kind of privilege. That, to me, are the telltale signs of a woke cultural approach. Here's another one. What's the bill number? Thanks. It's HR 61. HR 61, Leading Against White Supremacy Act of 2023. Here's one. Someone says HR 60. Whatever is about the most racist thing in existence. What a mess these morons are creating is gross. Yeah, I think it's HR 61 is based on what I'm seeing. There may be an HR 60. I don't know what that is. That one's about the snakes. Glad you're feeling better. That sounds like she's being very racist. Have a good day. I believe you're right. This is just wrong. And you could not talk about reparations. That also feels like woke culture to me, that we're going to go back in time. And because of the position in which I find myself today, which clearly isn't the product of my own effort, sacrifice, and commitment, instead it's the product of privilege. I had the privilege to engage in sacrifice, commitment, and all that stuff. I guess that's part of the woke culture thing too. But this does feel to me like a racist piece of legislation under the guise of trying to root out white supremacy. What happened to the days when Ilhan Omar could say some anti-Semitic stuff and the Democrat-controlled Congress could not bring itself to condemn that, but blew it up into just condemning all hate speech? And now here we are saying the only hate speech that matters is white supremacy hate speech. That's where Sheila Jackson Lee is going. Again, I don't think this legislation makes it, but this is appalling to me that her own party isn't calling her out for this. Why isn't the Democrat Party condemning her? And again, Hakeem Jeffries is the new minority leader for the House, African-American congressman out of New York. Does he believe in this? Does he agree with this? Where are the questions to him? Like, is this racist, Hakeem? Is this the kind of thing that we should be having come out of Congress, coming out of the Democrat Party? Is this what they stand for? Do not come look for protection from the law if you're white, only if you're non-white. And the only language we worry about criminalizing through this ridiculous torture of conspiracy is white supremacy language. Folks, there's another day, and it's not that long ago, where this would have been leading the news. because it oozes racism. What do we have going on here? 303-696-1971. I'm going to go to the phone lines. Joe, you're on 710. What do you think?
Hey, good morning. You're sounding better.
Hey, thank you for saying that. I'm still on the mend, but I'm getting there.
It takes a long time for some of these viruses.
Sadly.
Hey, this is a little bit off the track here.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if I haven't listened and you've covered this topic. I apologize for that. I just haven't been able to tune in lately.
That's okay.
But I was reading about this methamphetamine that they're discovering in libraries, because I don't know if they're taking the drug in there or they're smoking, whatever they're doing, but
that's it.
It's really dangerous for people. And I know they're going to go in and supposedly mitigate it and stuff. But my concern would be, okay, is like John Kellner, is he able to, because I live in Arapahoe County, I'm close to Bemis and stuff. Is he doing something about that?
Well, I imagine it gets its way to John first, because the good guys out there from the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office conduct their investigation. There really isn't anything for John to do until they come up with not only evidence of a crime, but some really good idea on who committed the crime. And my guess is that will be the tough part. They can go back and look at videos and maybe come up with some sort of suspects. But remember what we've done to law enforcement here. We have told them through changing the law that drug use isn't a big deal to Coloradans. We've reduced it down to misdemeanors for just about every crime and every drug, including methamphetamine. So what these folks did, even though it puts people at risk, their health, their life, our kids that we take to the library and take for granted it's a safe place, even though they put them at risk, the actual act of smoking methamphetamine is a misdemeanor. That's what we've done in Colorado. So to tell law enforcement, go out there and chase this down, they'll do it and they'll do a great job. But remember, at the end of the day, the payday for this is going to be somebody who gets a ticket to come to court. They will never go to jail. They will never go to prison. They will get a slap on the hand and probably sent right back out onto the street, maybe given some sort of a probationary sentence that says you need to get drug treatment, but that's it.
Well, no, I totally agree. I mean, we have to change the voting here, and I don't know what's going to make people wake up here. I have no clue. But I'm going to work on it. I'm doing my best with legislature and stuff. But what I'm wanting to know, too, is if I know you're kind of, John, and that would you be able to get him on or have him address this after he's done something about it, so that people know what's going on? And I don't feel comfortable going to my library. I don't feel comfortable. Actually, I stopped some police one day and said, hey, these guys are, this one guy's off his rocker. He's talking to the air. And I said, I don't even feel like comfortable going to my library.
Yeah, I think that's real. And you ought to bring that up to your library, which is a publicly controlled entity.
I did. They said there's nothing they can do about it. And the police said there's nothing they can do about it.
That's crazy. That doesn't make any sense, especially if someone looks like they're having, first off, we know that if we thought they had a gun, they would come in and red flag that guy or something. Sure. Certainly they can do at least the removal from the library. The other part of this is, I can have John on to talk in general about it and talk about general things. But once somebody gets accused of a crime, then John can't really say anything about the specific case until it gets resolved. But I think the first step here is the one that's been taken by the library. Let's get law enforcement involved. They conduct an investigation. Do you know, we have a law on the books that says this stuff is so bad that if a house has methamphetamine produced inside of it,
I know
that before it can be sold, it has to be, I don't know what the right word is, remediated. Like you have to go in and it costs tens of thousands of dollars.
Takes a lot of money and a lot of time. Yeah.
A lot of money and a lot of time. What do we do for libraries? Do we remediate that? And you and I are on the hook for that. All of that for just misdemeanor behavior.
Well, and to be able to say, you cannot come in here. I don't know what you do about that, but I mean, I don't even like to go there. When I do, I run in to get the book and jet out. I never stay. Yeah, we need to have a sign that says drug-free zone. They can paste it right next to the gun-free zone one. Sounds good to me.
Last question, Joe, for you, if you listen to this latest part, and that is, what do you think about this law being proposed by Sheila Jackson Lee out of Texas, who wants to criminalize those who engage in what she determines to be white supremacist hate ideology on social media? Well,
first of all, there isn't any white supremacy. And if you look back at history and look at look at the people who have done so many good things to this country that were white. Stop looking at color. That's what I say to all of them. Just look at the person and get on with your life.
Joe, but you would agree there are some folks out there who are white supremacists. I mean, I've seen them online
well,
too.
to the extreme extent, I'm sure there are, but you know what? They need to get over themselves too. I just, you know, I'm just a Christian and I just love people. I do what God commands. Just love people.
Well, I wish we could do more of that, but Joe, thank you for the call. Good luck at the library. I don't know where you can find meth under the Dewey Decimal System, but it sounds like you can do it right there in the bathroom. I want to come back and get to more of these texts and some more of your calls on this. Is this the direction that we're going to see everybody going? And I wonder how this interacts with all of this social media pressure that we get. It's really two sides, right? There's the idea that you have Elon Musk who wants to say it should be Katie bar the door on Twitter. We should allow anything and everything on Twitter. And now I think he's had to pull back a little bit on that because of some advertiser concerns. But what do we do about that idea where we're trying to discourage people from having access to social media to say these things? And then at the same time, we're saying, if you do these things, it's not just a matter of you getting blocked on Twitter. You could be held criminally liable. You could go to prison for espousing these views if some wingnut acts on them. Where are we going? 303-696-1971. George Brauchler on The George Show. Going to cut away for a break. When we come back, it's you, me, texts, phones, the conversation. George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler back with you here on 710 KNUS. Questions from texters here. Of course, phone lines are open for you, 303-696-1971. How do you enforce that law? Who judges that behavior to be white supremacy? That's a great question. I'm looking right now to see if there isn't some definition already that exists that is about white supremacy. I don't see one in here. I don't see a definition that she's put all over, but she is amending part of this. It looks like it amends part of the statute. It says section 249 of blah, blah, blah is amended in the matter preceding subparagraph A by inserting after race, color, religion, or national origin of any person the following, or because of a white supremacy based motivation against any person. And in subparagraph B, blah, 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 blah. You know, this calls to mind to another topic that we've ended up having to deal with here on the show, but also I've had to deal with as a prosecutor, and that's the idea of hate crime legislation in general. And the purpose of hate crime legislation is to make crimes motivated by one thing versus another more dire for the person who commits them, punishable by a greater level of offense. We have hate crime statutes here and I think it's called bias-related crime now in the state of Colorado, but they're low-level offenses. They elevate certain offenses from one class of a felony to another, but they do seek to add punishment based upon your motivation for committing the crime. And that's always been somewhat controversial, in part because the idea is, look, if somebody punches me in the face because they don't like the color of my hair, that's completely one crime. That's a third-degree assault. But if somebody punches me in the face because they don't like the color of my skin, that's now a felony. It's the same punch, the same face, the same pain, the same conduct that we're trying to punish. But if we can get into the head of the offender and tie it back to a motivation that's barred by law through these bias motivations, we can make it a bigger penalty. Does that make any sense? And so this is sort of a corollary to that. And that is the idea that we're now going to redefine conspiracy so that we can bring in only those folks who engage in white supremacy-inspired hate crimes into the definition of conspiracy, a definition that no longer requires an agreement. It's pretty outrageous. Where is it coming from? And why haven't people called this out? Why isn't this leading on the news? Sheila Jackson Lee launches racist piece of legislation, ironically intended to eliminate certain racist people on the media. Here's another text. SLE, I don't know what that is. And apparently the whole Dem party Sheila Lee, I think it's Sheila Jackson Lee. And apparently the whole Dem party are racist in the strictest definition of the word. And I'm glad you brought up strictest definition, because I told Billy off air, there's this theory out there that African-Americans, blacks can't be racist because they're not in positions of power. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. It seems to me that racism is conduct motivated by race, right? You're making decisions based on the other person's race. That is racism. How is the bill ever enforceable? Does post have to be original content? That's a great question. And I don't think the answer is yes, it does. I don't think it has to be original. I think if you spread it, you retweet it, whatever, I think you're responsible for what's called publication because you publicized it. What if it's a post on old published material? David Duke speeches, Das Boot, Quran, Bible, some documentary. Is Das Boot racist? By the way, I saw that movie. That was a great submarine movie. Did I miss something in the subtitles? Quran, but maybe you're referring to something else. Quran, Bible, some documentary. Is there a time frame from the post or repost and when the apparent crime is committed? No, not. That's a great question. Not in the statute. It seems to me that it could have been a post that you put up 5 years ago, and 5 years later, some wingnuts out there, and you should have reasonably foreseen that they would act on this thing. Although I do think with time, it's a bit attenuated. Is there a time frame from? Is the original poster, author, reposted, retweeted person, on and on? I don't know about the reposter thing. I think that that's too far. But I think whoever it is, because remember, the one key here to this is that they've got to prove that this person who ends up committing whatever this crime it is had read, heard, or viewed, whatever it was, your particular posting. She's writing this because she's not going to be relevant now. Maybe. Lee Keltner murder. 9 News. This is to Stefan. Okay. All Monday's hearing has been canceled and continued to a later date. I say again, there will be no hearing on January the 23rd. It will be rescheduled. I do not have a date or time yet. I'll keep you posted. Mr. Tubbs, you are a champion. I agree. He is a champion, and I'm glad we got to get that information out, Steve. Thank you. That's what Dems do, redefine definitions to suit their manipulative goal. Hello, George Orwell, 1984, right? Words are what I say they mean. I find it interesting that woke derived from a black term recognizing racism, but now it's a pejorative. Something is wrong there. It's a pejorative because the way it's been used, Texter. I mean, this idea of woke is like, what are you? First off, woke is a fake word. Nobody wokes anything. Woke is awaken. But apparently it would be racist to say awaken. But it's a pejorative because the way in which it has been employed. All of these things are good points, and I appreciate that. I just worry about the fact that we are now entering an era where there is only one side of this equation that you can be upon. You can be on the woke side of the equation, and where your anti-racist attitude must come at the expense of your own, if you're a white person, your own life, your own upbringing, because it's all privilege. And if you don't decry it, you're part of the problem. Remember, silence is complicity. Well, I'm guessing then that means Hakeem Jeffries and the rest of the House Dems are complicit in this racist piece of legislation, which seeks only to protect non-whites from hate speech. That's where this is going. But it's not just that. Oh, man, this is a disturbing video up here on Fox right now. This is an ongoing issue that we've got to confront and call it out. I just don't know why the mainstream media isn't involved or invested in doing this. At this day and age, to not call this out is crazy. There's someone named Maxine Waters. And if you recall, again, it's not a perfect corollary. It's not a perfect analogy. But you remember Maxine Waters is engaged in a call for action that is far more than just talking about, hey, I'm really frustrated with this. I'm upset with these Bush officials. I'm upset with these Trump officials. I'm upset. It's not like that. It's a different kind of call to action. And Billy's got the sound. Billy, what do you got?
Already, you have members of your cabinet that are being booed out of restaurants, who have protesters taking up at their house, who's saying no peace, no sleep. No peace, no sleep. And guess what? We're going to win this battle because while you try and quote the Bible, Jeff Sessions and others, you really don't know the Bible. God is on our side. On the side of the children, on the side of what's right, on the side of what's honorable, on the side of understanding that if we can't protect the children, we can't protect anybody. And so let's stay the course. Let's make sure we show up wherever we have to show up. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere. We've got to get the children connected to their parents. The children are suffering.
That is Maxine Waters. It's baffling that people continue to cast votes for her. But again, that is not one that is based on race. But remember, it's a specific call to action. This is so much different than someone who just takes to the airwaves and talks about whites being supreme and blacks are the problem. And all of that abhorrent speech is one thing. But this is a go to the restaurants, go to the department stores and hound these people because they don't belong here. Now, under this logic, the logic, not the words of the statute she wants to do, the logic of Sheila Jackson Lee here, that is a conspiracy. Frankly, that isn't even a conspiracy because there's no agreement with the other people, but it is incitement. And in fact, it could be considered solicitation to commit a crime. And that's the other thing where this might fall into this if it was specific. If you listening to me right now need to take up arms and where you can push back against African Americans in the society by blanketing, That's a different thing. That's a call to action. That probably gets you solicitation. That probably gets you incitement to commit a crime. It's not a conspiracy. But isn't Maxine Waters guilty of so much more? But is it different? Do we say, no, it's different? That's a call to action to harass people, but not based on race, based on their position in the government. That's totally different. That's First Amendment protected stuff. And as appalling as it is that we think that they would do that to their friends and family out to dinner or out shopping at the mall, so be it. It's for a greater cause. I mean, is there a hypocrisy there? 303-696-1971. Here's what I want to do. I want to cut away for a quick break. When we come back, Mark, other folks that are calling in right now, I promise you, I'll get you on the air. That's what we do here. Stick around. We'll get to some of the texts that are pouring in as well. You can always hit us on the 710knus.com website or the 710 KNUS app. It's George Brauchler on The George Show. You're listening to 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes, all in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
I could listen to this entire song, Me Love This Version of the Stones, right here. George Brauchler on 710 KNUS, continuing our conversation that we're having with texters and callers. And yeah, we are on YouTube, folks. You can go check it out. Just search for us on the George Brauchler Show or 710 KNUS. Subscribe, send it around to your buddies. We are on. In fact, what you'll see is I've now taken my son's great shirt. I have a face for radio. Thank you, son. And put a coat on because it is still somewhere in the mid 60s, I think, in this room. Maybe it's a little bit less. But we're having this conversation about a racist, in my opinion, piece of legislation that Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, a Democrat from Texas, has offered that seeks to make a conspirator out of anyone who's on social media or some other type of platform where they can publish some ill-defined white supremacist ideological language or something that any wingnut out there that could reasonably foreseen as to acting on it. If they do it and they go commit some heinous crime, they go shoot up a Walmart of 17 people. Did you see that story, by the way, yesterday? 17 people murdered in a Walmart a while ago down near El Paso. Feds get involved in the case, made the decision to not seek death. Now, guy probably has some mental health stuff on board, but clearly a hatred for Hispanics. If that guy listened to, and I want to pick someone pretty unpopular here, Alex Jones. If he'd listened to Alex Jones, and Alex Jones had said, and he says a bunch of garbage, but he had said a bunch of things about, I don't know, people south of the border crossing over, Mexicans this, something like that, and speaking ill of them. He could be made a conspirator to that crime under this racist legislation. Now, you could not apply this law at all to a person who got on the air and said the exact same words with the exact same vilification and tone of white people, because it only applies to those who say things about non-whites. The question that I had is this, what's going on? How is it that we don't have any more outcry in Congress from someone who has put forward clearly a racist piece of legislation? Is this a matter of us being so scared of the left or the woke youth that are out there? Is that what's going on here? 303-696-1971. Going to go to the phone lines. Mark, you're on 710. Mark, what do you think?
Hi. Well, I think there was a couple of these killers that had To Kill a Mockingbird with them, and would guess who? Harper Lee be culpable for something there? And is Harper Lee and Sheila Jackson Lee related? They could be cousins.
I don't know. I don't think so. But the book itself, I don't think Sheila Jackson Lee would define that as white supremacist publication. I mean, she wouldn't say that.
Well,
you wouldn't say that.
No, I wouldn't at all. And then there's the Turner Diaries.
That might qualify right there. Those Turner Diaries might qualify right there under her definition, which I haven't seen any real definition of.
And then there's Charles Manson that says the Beatles made him do it.
That's interesting too. I think that one's
white on white, though. I don't know.
Yeah, well, white victims don't count, as you know, under Sheila Jackson Lee's legislation.
Shoot.
But the other thing is, I wonder how tortured the publication could be. I think he could argue under the words of this statute that nobody could reasonably foresee that you would play the White Album backwards and get that information. That's probably the out for that one right there.
But it is white perpetrator. So, you know.
Yeah, it's a tough call, but
might
white
be just
victims.
enough for her to get enough.
By the way, have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No, I haven't.
But
I don't think I have.
If you have any interest at all in that time period or knowledge of it, just like in Inglourious Bastards, Quentin Tarantino engages in some revisionist history on that exact thing with the La Bianca murders and all that others. You got to check it out. It's a much better ending than reality gave us.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks a lot, George.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the phone call. Mark's line is open, 303-696-1971. But here's the deal. We are just about out of time. When we get to the top of the hour, I'll continue to work through the text here. Here's someone, nonsense like HR 61 is a tactic that Dems have learned to utilize to advance their agenda. Idea is to propose something so over the top and ridiculous that if we fight against it, we end up compromising. God, I hope not. I think we got to, whatever the anti-woke thing is, I don't know if that's a real thing. We got to start doing stuff like calling this out and making it a bigger deal, because the folks out in Congress just ain't getting it done. In the mainstream media, they're not going to help either. Look, stick around. Get the phones ready. 303-696-1971. We'll talk about something good here at the top of the hour. It's George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
We're halfway through this final show for me for this week. George Brauchler on the George Show, 710 KNUS. Big John Caldera will be filling in for me tomorrow while I am abroad taking care of some military business. I will be back in the saddle 1 week from today, but you've got me for the next 2 hours. Here's what I want to talk to you about in this first. And thanks for everybody who participated, largely in text. A couple phone calls in that last conversation. I think it's a good one. It's the one that's not going to go away. We'll keep updating you on it. By the way, another thing that's not going away, this is just a really ham-handed segue into something I wanted to talk about before I got into this topic. This George Santos guy, the congressman, out of New York, Long Island, the dude who's lied about, I think, every fact about his life so far. This guy, some stuff is surfacing. There is a picture of him that during his youth, when he was in Brazil, he went by the name Katara while he performed in drag. Now, I don't know if that's a Brazilian thing. Of course, he's used the other false name, Anthony de Boulder. He apparently was in, and look, if you look at the picture, this is what I came away with. He's a better looking woman than a dude. Now, that's a harsh thing to say, but it is true. If you look at the picture, you're like, okay, I kind of get it. It's bizarre. Katara?
Katara? With what is he, like an extra in Avatar or some like bonus character in Mortal Kombat? What it Katara?
I don't know what Katara means in Brazil. I mean,
it probably means
don't they speak Portuguese or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
So I don't know what it is in Portuguese, but Katara. Anyway, if you go out and Google this thing,
maybe it means soft pillow.
Dude's
sorry.
dude's a handsome looking woman. Let's just say that. But then the other story that broke about this guy, and this is the one where up to this point, I'm offended that he was able to get through the process. He's not running for dog catcher, man. This dude's running for a member of the House of Congress. And nobody had this stuff out there to blow him up. And yet there's a story out here now.
Yeah. Oh, George, and we talked about this off the air, that how mad are you if you're the guy that lost to him?
Oh my, every day.
Yeah, you're like,
every day. You're like, come on.
You're throwing your cereal across the room.
This guy?
This. I got beat by the drag queen from Brazil. Like, what? Please. Yeah, who did my op research? I mean, you could have just taken the picture of him dressed as a woman. You could have just run that as an ad. And you probably still.
This guy is a one-term congressman, and I just don't know how else you get him out of office, but I don't think he wants to go.
I still love the idea that the one side game that I'm playing right now is watching him try to mingle when he basically, there's I don't know if people remember the what was the book? The book that was made into
Bible?
Yeah, I know that was made into a movie. Yeah, okay, but it's about a
World According to God.
No, he's going through middle school, and then his brother is in a band and is kind of a screw up and always makes fun of him. But part of the thing is during one of the
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
There we go, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Thank you, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. On the playground one day, they have the old piece of cheese, and you get the cheese touch. And so that's kind of the thing is you're now contaminated until you touch somebody else and they get the cheese touch. And I watched that thing with George Santos, and it's like an adult version of the cheese touch. Nobody wants to be too close to him because they're afraid they're going to get the stank. It's kind of fun to watch. Just as a side note.
It also strikes me it's a little John Lovitzy from Saturday Night Live. You know, the liar, like, and I was Katara, and I was beloved.
Yes, and
the ticket.
And my mother died on September 11th.
Oh, that's another one. And apparently his mom not even in New York.
Yeah, not even there.
But here's the one that really, really pissed me off.
Yeah.
There's a story out there now that he swindled some homeless vet, whose companion in life was his dog. Dog has a developing tumor. This guy comes out and talks to him. This guy who identifies himself as Anthony de Boulder, one of the known pseudonyms for this guy, and says, I need $3,000 for the surgery. I got no way to get this money together. So our buddy Santos apparently gets a GoFundMe page. This is according to the story. He gets the $3,000 leveraging this legitimate need from this very sympathetic character and his dog, and then ghosts him, never gives him a penny, very difficult to get a hold of, and he ends up just pocketing the $3,000. Now, all this other stuff this lying about his background, whether he's Jewish or Jewish and all that stuff, that's outrageous, no doubt about it. But this thing is despicable. This is the kind of thing where I want this guy gone, not from the House, not from New York, but from the planet, man. What kind of human being would do that, would exploit a veteran down on their luck over their, I mean, if it's true, and I know that this is the problem, is once the media smells blood in the water in your life, they're going to dig up everything. They're going to find every guy and gal this dude ever kissed or held hands with in his lifetime. And that's all going to be another story. But I just wanted to update you on our buddy George Santos because lo and behold, guy's got more issues going on. This dude is in the media for all the wrong reasons all the time. But here's a different story. And I wanted to update you on that. Philadelphia Flyers. You may have heard this story, but I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. Philadelphia Flyers. Pretty progressive organization, as is most of the NHL. And like most of the NHL, they have embraced the idea of honoring the LGBTQ plus community through a Pride Month. Not enough to do it for a day or a week. It's got to be a month, Pride Month. And part of that is, this is an organization that like even tells its employees, we'd love for you to declare your pronouns in company communications. I still don't understand that. I'm not even sure what my pronouns are, but until someone makes me do it, and my God, I'm so worried the military could get there, I will never do it. If you can't get it from my name, and I know George is a very effeminate name, if you can't get it from my name, then just make up your own. I don't care. I'm not offended. But this is a very, very progressive organization. So they have this Pride Month. They've got decorations and lighting. They fill the place that they play in Philadelphia. It's called the Wells Fargo Center. And they get it all ready to go for one of the big games, including asking the players who come out to do the warm-ups. And if you've gone to an Avs game, you've seen this. They warm up in different jerseys, all of it a marketing scheme to get you to buy more stuff. And it seems like the LGBTQ plus community, great place to want to go get them to buy some jerseys. So they have all the Flyers jerseys, but if you've seen the picture of them, they're all like red, white, and blued out, all the numbers and everything. And so they asked the players to come out and put them on and skate around in this Pride Month, shirt, I guess, this jersey. But somebody said no. He was a defenseman from the Philadelphia Flyers. His name is Ivan Provorov. I'm probably butchering that because it doesn't sound like it's from Ohio. Ivan Provorov. Provorov. Lots of letters in there you just don't normally see next to each other unless you're in Russia. Provorov. Someone's going to know this. I'm sure it's Alexa and will let me know what it is. But nonetheless, Ivan here made the decision to not do it. And I don't mean he skated out. I'm not aware of this. He did not skate out onto the ice to warm up in a different jersey. He just chose not to observe the Pride Night commemoration. And when asked about it, a couple interesting things. He said, look, I am Russian Orthodox. This is against my Christian faith. So I just chose not to do it. Now, of course, you have to do the obligatory genuflection too. And he says, I respect everybody and I respect everybody's choices. My choice is to stay true to myself and my religion. That's it. And then he says nothing else. I think Billy's even got the sound of that. Well, let's hear him say it, I guess.
Everybody's choices. My choice is to stay true to myself and my religion. That's all I'm going to say.
How do your religious beliefs?
Like I said, that's all I'm going to comment on that. If you have any hockey questions, I would answer those.
Can you just clarify?
Now, that's so interesting to me that's the focus of the media is why didn't you do it? Why don't you bend the knee? Why don't you genuflect to this approach? The coach has come to the defense of this guy. The coach did not throw him under the bus or say, hey, I'm disappointed or anything like that. He actually stood up for the guy and gave him a plug. Billy, do you have that too? I know you got to go back.
Warm-ups before the game.
There's a report that he wasn't in warm-ups because he didn't want to wear the Pride jersey for Pride Night. Do you have any comment on that?
He's being true to himself and to his religion. This has to do with his belief in his religion. And it's one thing I respect about Provy. He's always true to himself. And so that's where we're at with that.
When he chose not to wear the jersey, to not play him as a result?
No. I'm not going to answer many more questions on it because I just think it's unfair. I know you're going to probably talk to Provy, but yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I think it was a great night in celebrating. Organization has put out a statement, and I'm not going to get too deep into the conversation.
Remember, there was a time when what we were told is we should tolerate everyone. Tolerate everyone regardless of their lifestyle, because that lifestyle is not something that they choose. It's something that is part of their genetic makeup, the part of who they are, their DNA in a way, I guess. And we just need to tolerate them. And then it became more than tolerate. And it became, we've got to accept them and make them feel like they're part of the team and all that. I understand that stuff. And now it has progressed to, you must honor them and treat them as if the things that they do are at least as good as what you do. And because we don't, I guess every day is, maybe it's hetero pride day. I don't know, but we don't do this for any other group like that. And so now the question is it enough to simply promote? No. We now have to make an issue of those who choose not to promote it. And now sports is going to become this vehicle to try to advance social change. Now, we did it back with the desegregation of baseball. I admit that. Branch Rickey, of course, the great number 42, Jackie Robinson, of course. But this is a bit different. This isn't about even, an LGBTQ plus player. And the Flyers organization, by the way, and this was a head scratcher for me, they actually hosted a transgender tournament. I can't even envision what the hell that looks like. What is a transgender hockey tournament? And are you matching up people who are genetically women, but who are biologically women who say they're men with dudes who now say they're women? Because that's a mismatch you're going to feel on the boards. That's a difference maker. I would have liked to have seen video of how that thing turned out. But in this particular case, you have Provy make the decision on behalf of his faith to not go out. And now there's sports pundits out there, Texter sent this in, saying dude should be fined. Dude should be fined for not doing this. It just makes me wonder. Listen, guys signed up to play in the NFL. I'm sorry, in the NHL. When you sign up to play in the NHL or the NFL, you agree that you're going to wear the uniform of the day, right? I mean, you don't get to say, hey, we're wearing our road whites and show up and go, mine's dirty. I think I'm going to go with the home blacks. Can't do that, right? You got to wear the uniform of the day. If you look at the old Chicago Bears uniforms that they got right now, they have that GSH on there, that George Stanley Hallis, legendary owner of the Bears, on the jersey. You don't get to say, not a big fan of his. I heard that somewhere in his hereditary past, someone owned slaves, and therefore I don't want to, although that you can tell if that happened, that would be coming. I'm just not going to wear it. They'd say, nope, that's the uniform of the day, dude, put it on. Is this different than that? And this guy says, I did it because of my faith. And I believe that. I do. But does that matter? What if someone were to just say, it's not because of my faith. I just don't agree. I just don't agree. I don't want to have an LGBTQ plus thing. I don't want to honor every demographic group that we possibly can as a marketing scheme. I just want to play damn hockey, man. So no, I'm not putting on this jersey. I'm not putting on the Black History Month jersey. I'm not putting on the Native American Week, whatever jersey. I'm not doing it. I just want to play hockey. Do you support that guy in that decision, or do you say, hey, man, you are paid to play. And part of being paid to play is you wear the jersey that we choose. This one isn't even for the game. This is just warm-ups, man. The organization supports this. You're part of the organization. We're not asking you to go out and say things or give money. Just wear the jersey. Who's right here? And let me ask you this. If your employer had you wear, especially if you're in a job where there's some kind of uniform, and most of you are probably not there yet, but we all were. I was a Wendy's guy. I was a lifeguard. There was uniforms that you had to have for both of those things. Military is very different, so I don't count that. But if you had an employer that said, hey, this is what I want you to do, would you do it? Would you do it at the risk of being fined? Would you do it at the risk of losing your job to stand up for that? Is this guy right or is this wrong? I think he should be allowed to do it. Here's the other analogy that's being drawn. Once you start going down this road of nope, guy's got to be true to himself. I agree with what the coach said. He's got to be true to himself. Wasn't Kaepernick true to himself? When he took a knee on the sidelines there during the playing of the national anthem, it wasn't a jersey. In fact, it was a little bit more than that. It was an act. We want you to stand on your feet and put your hand over your heart and listen to this national anthem. Now, this guy has wrongfully concluded, in my opinion, that the national anthem is some sort of an anthem for a racist country and all that other garbage. I just disagree with it. But doesn't he have the same right to not participate? We can call it a protest, and I do think it was a protest, all right, but is really not participating. I will not get to my feet. I will not do that. I will not wear the jersey you want me to wear for this, to honor this country, to honor this group, to honor this person. I'm not going to do it. So where do we come down on this? Is this a matter of individual liberty that we should be respecting? Or is this something different? Is this a matter of, I get it, man. If you don't want to play for an organization that has these values and does this thing, go to a different team, ask to be traded. Or do we honor what this guy says? 303-696-1971. How does this make you feel? I want to tell you a little bit about a guy named Mitch Floria, The Art of Granite. Frankly, Mitch cares so little about anything else about you other than you own a great home, you're a good person, and you want to beautify the interior of it. This is a guy who's a businessman, a craftsman. He puts together kitchen countertop packages for your kitchen, for your master bathroom, if you can even say that term anymore. All of these things are within Mitch's, subject matter expertise. And as an artisan, one of the things that he does is to tell you, listen, you can go to my website and look at theartofgranite.com, theartofgranite.com. And by the way, just because it says granite, it's not limited to that. He does marble. He does quartz. He does, yes, granite. He does all the God-mades, the man-mades, all of it. But he says, come out here, man. If you're serious about wanting to do something for the interior of your home, you can start online, but come out to my place, about 6th Avenue, Colfax, I-70. He'll be there. He'll be there, and he'll be doing great work, closing deals and getting things done and making sure the customer service is just right. And here's why I love Mitch. Mitch takes this business personally. This isn't about, hey, I just start this up and someone else runs it. Mitch is a hands-on leader for his office. 303-386-5919. I'll say it again. That's his number. That rings on his hip. That's the kind of hands-on business owner he is. 303-386-5919. Here's the cool part about you being a listener. You tell Mitch you listen to him on KNUS, and that's why you gave him the call. 20% off of labor this month. 20% off of labor. Or you can choose to take a kitchen or bathroom sink for free with the purchase of any countertop package. It's customer service and quality that make Mitch different than just about everybody else out there. Don't take my word for it. Take his. Go out there and look and see it with your own eyes. That's Mitch Floria at The Art of Granite, artofgranite.com. Couple questions here. How is the NHL player choice different than what NFL players did? Is it different at all? Do you see a difference? If you think it's okay for the NHL player to not wear the warm-up jersey, why wasn't it okay for NFL players to kneel? I think that's an important question. What's the distinction? Are they both right or are they both wrong? Should they both be punished? Neither be punished? What should the NHL do? Let it go? 303-696-1971. It's a story we're talking about. We'll get your calls. We'll get some of the texts that are coming in here. It's George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler right back with you here, 710 KNUS, talking about Philadelphia Flyers defenseman Provy, because, of course, I can't actually pronounce his real name. It's just got a lot of Russian, vowels and consonants all jammed together there. This guy's decision not to wear the Pride jersey for warm-ups in skating for warm-ups the other day at Wells Fargo. This is interesting issue for me because he has used as a justification, it's my faith. It's because I'm Russian Orthodox and it's against my Christian faith. I support everybody's choices. I just don't want to go out there and wear the jersey. Couple questions that come from this. Does it matter? Does it matter that it's a product of faith? What if he just disagrees with the lifestyle? I'm happy that they can all do it. I just don't want to promote it, folks. I'm not interested. Would you feel the same way about it? Would you be like, yep, any reason at all? Doesn't have to be faith-based. But then if we get there, the one that really gets me is the comparison to Kaepernick. And we've got some texters that are coming in here. Dishonoring country versus a catering to a minority on that level, not a comparison. Take the substantive part out of it. All right, texter, just take the substantive part out of it. It doesn't matter what it's for part of this question. If this guy has a deeply held belief, should he be able to act on it in his capacity as this professional football player for Kaepernick or professional hockey player for Provy? Is there a distinction between these two? The decision, I'm not going to wear the jersey, to I'm not going to stand for the national anthem. Here's another one. I always thought it was the NFL player's right. I didn't like it, didn't tune in. That's my right. If people don't agree with the hockey player's choice, they are free not to watch or buy tickets, or they can purchase the jersey. Organization doesn't need to do anything necessarily. What about an organization that says, look, whether we truly believe in it or we think this is genius marketing to help us get into another niche area out there and sell a bunch of these jerseys, damn it, you're going to get on board and do it. Then what? What if it's a patch? What if they do an LGBTQ patch on the jersey and they're going to wear it for the whole game? Then what do we do? It just seems to me that we're going down a road here where we're either going to have to acknowledge that these individuals have rights to make certain decisions that are contrary to the contracts that they've signed, and that can be done with impunity, or we're going to make them bend the knee to their employer. Isn't that what's going on? And how do you distinguish between these two? It says, why does he have to justify anything? I think that's a fair question too. Why does Provy have to say why he doesn't want to come out? He doesn't. But again, it's an easy one to fall back on your faith because at least up till now, faith is still a basis that gets some protection from the mainstream media. But what if he said, I just not into it, guys. Just don't want to wear that jersey. Maybe it's just, I think the jersey looks stupid. I don't want to wear it. Is that good enough? Is that when we go, oh, now you get fined? Or you don't agree, now you get fined. But if you say it's your faith, they can't punish you because you've invoked some First Amendment protection there. Here's one: mental disorders are not civil rights. I'm not sure what that means in this context. Play ball or puck, not politics. I said that. I wrote a column back when I was still writing for the Post, and I write for the Gazette now. A column that said exactly that. Like, please don't sully professional sports with the mendacity of politics and just the banality of it. I mean, please don't do that. Like, I love the idea that I can sit in a hockey stand next to someone who loves Bernie Sanders and AOC, but hates the Raiders as much as I do. And I don't care about their politics. I don't know it, don't care it, don't want to see it. And then the NFL said, no, we're going to put stuff in the end zone. We're going to put stuff on the back of helmets. I wonder what would have happened if players had said, I'm not doing it. I'm going to draw the line right here. I'm not going to go with the woke stuff. What the NFL would have done. And what's the answer here? Should the LGBTQ community show up and say, hey, whoa, if you're not going to hold this guy to account, if you're not going to find this guy, how true can your commitment be to promoting LGBTQ? What if the whole team said, we're not going to skate? What if they all did what Provy did? As a function of faith or anything else, we're just not going to warm up because we don't want to wear these jerseys. Then what? Is it different then? What if the whole team decided to kneel for the national anthem? And we've seen, I think, close to that take place. Is there a difference between these two? 303-696-1971. What do you do with this? If your employer asked you to wear a specific jersey, like when I was a Wendy's guy, I want you to wear this specific Wendy's thing. We're honoring LGBTQ month here at Wendy's. They're big consumers. They love Wendy's. We love Wendy's too. Wendy's, of course, she, her, hers or something. Then what? Do you wear it? What if your kid comes home and tells you, hey, I'm working at McDonald's. Dad, they want us to wear this whole striped, very flowery, tie-dye looking thing, LGBTQ shirt to work. What do you tell your son or your daughter? 303-696-1971. Here's another one. I'm more concerned about the rising gas prices in Colorado and why they're rising faster than the national average than I'm concerned about some multimillionaire not wearing a rainbow jersey. Yeah, I think it's a bigger issue than that. The gas thing, we can get that under control. These are bigger social issues because this is the kind of stuff that becomes indoctrinated, not just in our kids, but when we highlight this guy and make it seem like what he's doing is an anomaly, and we don't say it as a positive. The media is not asking him this because they're proud of him and they're trying to put him forward as this is a guy who's got character. This is a guy who's got moxie. This is a guy who stands up for what he believes in. They're putting him out there as an outlier who's made a weird decision based on an antiquated notion that faith trumps some sort of social wokeism, and it can't. Here's one, George. Isn't this stuff written in a contract? If not, why? It would seem very easy to write it and easy to enforce. Or is it written and the NHL or its teams have no backbone? Could be. If it's a contract, then yeah, he's violating it. What do you do with that? If you're the employer, do you make a show of enforcing it because you want to send the message that whether it's this clause or any other, they all matter to us, don't do it? Maybe the contract allows them to opt out of these things. I don't know. Maybe there's a contract that says you can't ask me to do something that's contrary to my faith. And hockey goes, well, we can't envision what that is. We just want you to go out there and cause pain to people and crush them and score goals. You know, the way Jesus intended. And they don't have anything built in there. I don't know. Just an FYI, the UFC won't allow fighters to come out with their nation's flag anymore, at least for now. That's interesting. I wonder what that's about. If my kid came home and said McDonald's want a name to do that, he is old enough to work, she is old enough to work, she or he is old enough to make that decision. Okay, yeah, okay, I get that. But let's say they're 16 or they're 17. And they come to you and they say, Dad, we grew up in a Christian household here. I'm concerned. I don't want to necessarily advertise this. I don't have anything against them, but I want to promote it, Dad. What do you say? Or Mom, I don't want to promote it. Hey, sorry, son, it's part of the job. Go out there and do it and suck it up. You're not the one saying anything. It's just wearing a shirt. Doesn't mean anything. What do you do with them? You send them out with that information? This is interesting because it's a continuation of something that we've seen, but it's the other side of the coin here. What do we do now when we have a player who takes up a position that maybe you agree with as opposed to Kaepernick, who takes the position, nope, I'm going to kneel during the national anthem? I can tell you, I see a distinction. Interested to hear if you get it. 303-696-1971. But for the hockey player that, and one of the texters touched upon this, for the hockey player to not come out and skate, I'm not even sure who notices that. Maybe Provy's biggest fans notices that. I don't know. The media sure did. And they ask him about it. He could have said, I pulled a hammy, or I'm keeping loose, or I had to go number 2, or I don't know, whatever they do. They kept me from going to warm-ups. But he ends up saying this thing. But I think there's a difference between staying out in the tunnel or out in the locker room and not coming out and drawing attention to your position versus what Kaepernick did. Kaepernick did not stay in the tunnel. Kaepernick did not stay in the locker room. He came out at a time, and I believe deliberately, and knew that when folks were standing around to do the anthem, he was going to do the opposite. He was going to take a knee and draw attention to himself. Should that matter? I mean, if Provy had come out in a regular jersey and skated around, a regular warm-up jersey, would it be different? Would he be in a position where he needed to be addressed or disciplined? 303-696-1971. Going to go to the phone lines right here. Jeff, you're on 710. Jeff, what do you think?
Hello.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, how you doing, George?
Living the dream, man. What do you think about all this?
You know, first of all, I got to give you accolades for bringing up the question. I think it's kind of a disease that continues to creep into our society as we've seen it over the last 20 to 30 years. It keeps growing and it keeps becoming part of our society. And I think the question comes down to, you know, following the dollar from a profitable standpoint. You know why the NFL teams are doing it, the NHL teams are doing it. It's like they want that marketplace, and that's really truly what it comes down to. And so they come together and they come as a group and say, okay, what's this going to mean to our bottom line? It's not a moral encompass for them whatsoever. It's just how do we embrace the whole dollar value? Another point before I let you speak is, you know, there is a distinction between the national anthem and LGBTQ. There's definitely a big distinction between the national values of, there's a couple things that are sacred in our nation, but you know, the movements of special interests are totally different than that. So those are my comments, and great job, George. Thanks for the comments and thanks for bringing up the question.
Jeff, can I ask you before you go, man, if you had an employer that put you in that position, and I don't know if you're in a job where you got to wear a uniform or something, but if an employer put you in that position and you'd signed up and you knew that part of the job was wearing the uniform of the day, what would you do?
But George, let me tell you, I wasn't in those positions before. CEO, I had many employees, and the pronoun issue came up to our company. The he, she, they. I said, we're not doing it. Not why I'm here. I refused to do it, and we didn't talk about it, and it wasn't an issue. So until the leaders, we all have to be leaders. If those administrators, CEOs, executives, VPs stand up, say, we have to draw a line here, we'll continue to bow to the special interest.
Buddy, we're losing you right there at the end. Can you say that again? I wanted to get that. That's important.
I said, once again, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Let me pull over here real quick. I was a CEO, and I think the question is, until the administrators, the VPs, those leaders, okay, take a position that we're not going to do the pronouns. We're not going to advocate for these special interest groups against the boards, because those are the ones who are pushing you. You'll continue to fall. So the leadership of America has to take a stand here, whether it be with the sports or whether a business, because it will continue to creep and it will continue to push to the special interest groups, which will continue to corrode our society.
Jeff, when you made that decision as CEO, did you get any pushback from your board?
No.
Oh, that's pretty good. Different president, or were you president as well?
I was the president. No, I was not the president. I was CEO.
That's interesting to me. Do you feel like you were in a unique position, or when you talk to other folks who do that same sort of CEO stuff that you do, that they're feeling the same empowerment? It seems to me that one of the problems plaguing business right now is they're becoming so scared and so timid towards any sort of social media or left-wing push against them for not embracing this, that they're doing it really to just not be attacked. You know what I'm talking about? Do you sense that?
Yes, I do. I think it's, you know, people become worried of their job. I was very comfortable. I was solid. I had security because of my longevity. So I think, you know, you go into the new position, you're very new, you know, you want to please everybody. You got to navigate those roles. You got a lot of pressure coming at you. I was very unique in that area. But once again, I think it comes down to leadership to say, hey, you got to have a backbone. And how do you work with that? And then knowing, hey, you can make this decision. You can make this decision as far as your values and stand up for it. You may not always win, but you have to have the voice.
Do you make a distinction here? I've tried to point this out between what Pro V did and what Kaepernick and the others did with the kneeling during the national anthem.
I think that Pro V, it's a little bit. I do draw the distinction between that. I think that, you know, there are some things that are sacred to our nation. And some things you just need to, the national anthem is one of them. The Pledge of Allegiance is another one. You know, this is what we do as a nation. I think the woke, the LGBTQ, and we all see the impact of the backlash of what we're seeing, teaching, you know, sexual education with kindergartners or first graders in our school system. You know, it's terrible. So I think you have to be able to draw those distinctions. So absolutely, I see the distinction.
If Kaepernick had instead, and you're the owner of the team, and instead you said, look, man, if you're going to do that, just stay in the tunnel. Don't come out until the national anthem's over, much like Provy did. Provy didn't skate wearing the non-LGBTQ jersey. He just stayed away. Would that be acceptable to you? Or is that an issue when you talked about how sacred the national anthem is, where you get this guy to genuflect and you say, dude, you're going to be there. Your hand's going to be over your heart. I don't care what's in your head, but I know you're going to look like everybody else.
Well, that's a tough one, George. I'd say stay in the tunnel.
Stay in the tunnel. And if he does, and that's what Provy did, if he does that, dude gets to be true to himself without drawing the kind of negative attention that you would want or you'd want to avoid if you're the owner. Does that sound right?
Yeah, but once again, I think, there is a distinction, and I want to draw that distinction because, LBG, I think once again, it's the owners, it's leadership. Everything is leadership, George, as you know.
Yeah.
Our leaders have to have backbones to get America on the right track. And until we have that backbone, whether it be with the CEOs of the companies, the boards of the companies, that you need to say, hey, we're not going to follow the dollar. We're going to do what's right for our company and to our country. That's what we need.
Yeah, I agree with that. When it comes to these two things, is the distinction then substantive for you that it's the anthem versus the LGBTQ thing? And if the answer is yes, I see those as different, who then gets to make that decision?
I think it's the establishment. I think we can make it right now. I don't think it's complicated, George.
Well, yeah, except if it becomes the marketing thing, and I'm the NHL guy.
There you go.
You know what I mean? And just like you said at the beginning, this is about the bottom line. If you're the NHL guys and you're like, whoa, there's a real niche there. We can get LGBTQ plus, probably at least from studies I've seen in the past, demographically, socioeconomically, better off than almost any other identified quote unquote minority group that's out there. Why don't we get them to spend money on our jerseys? And so then they go to Provy and go, dude, I get it. We don't care if you like it or not. It sells jerseys. People like you. You have a big calling in the gay community. We want to sell your jersey. If you don't go out there, it's not going to happen. Is that good enough to trump this guy's deeply held belief?
I think once again, I think you have to take the special. Unfortunately, you need to take the special interest out of these arenas that we've. Once again, like I said at the very beginning, it's a disease. It keeps creeping in. I think you have to take a step back. Say we're no longer going to do this. It's like getting politics involved in, the economics of America. Sometimes, instead of letting business run business. It's a complicating factor, but you cannot continue to allow, the dollar to creep into these establishments because it's never going to stop, George. It never stops.
Well, and Billy pointed out too that, and I didn't know this, that the salute to service stuff that the NFL does, that isn't out of the goodness of their heart and their interest in being pro Department of Defense. Apparently they get paid by the Department of Defense to do that. I had no idea that was part of the process, but that goes to your thing about the dollars, what's motivating all these guys. Jeff, you've got a fan here, at least one on the texters, because someone has texted in. Jeff is the caller of the week. Congratulations.
Well, thank you much, George. Once again, follow the dollar.
Yeah,
it's leadership that we need.
Thanks for the listening and thanks for the calls too, man. Jeff's got a great call there. I appreciate that. We'll get your call. Jeff's line is open at 303-696-1971 right after this. I do want to tell you, though, about another leader in the area. And by the way, as Jeff's describing someone who leads his organization by doing what's right and not just about following the dollar, I'm thinking of Jesse from Littleton Jewelry, because I've been with that guy multiple times now, including breaking bread with he and his wife. Just a solid dude who has lived his life by some pretty sincere conservative principles, including how he's raising his kids, how he conducts his business. And you can just see it, man. This guy is a leader in the area of jewelry, but at the local level. He's not interested in being a national chain. He's not interested in getting in the malls. He's interested in doing great work with someone that you can reach across the counter, look in the eye, shake their hand, and know they're going to be there a week, a month, a year, a decade later. Jesse took this business over from mom and dad some time ago when it was just doing watch repair, and he just had a bigger vision for it. And now he's blown it up way past the watch repair, the cleaning and repairing of the jewelry, and the buying and the selling of the gold and the silver and the coins, and you name it. You can do all that stuff. But now he's getting into the custom jewelry side of things. He's been doing it now for a couple of years. They have a brand new expansion to their, and it's crushing it out there. And it's crushing it because of what they put out, how they put it out, and how they deal with you when they do it. If you're interested at all in coming up with something just unique, nothing else like it on the planet Earth, for that special someone in your life because they're like no one else on the planet Earth, you go to Littleton Jewelry right there south of Hudson Gardens. Take a right turn right by the jewelry repair sign. It's on the west side of the street. They're so easy to get to. And you go inside and you say, talk to me about custom design jewelry. Is it in my budget? What can I do for this? What can I get for this person I love? This isn't a, hey, we take your money and we'll call you when it's done kind of a thing. You're part of that process. Go check it out. In fact, you can go to littletonfinejewelry.com, littletonfinejewelry.com. That's cool. But get in the car and drive out there. Say hi to those folks. Tell them you're a 710 listener. They love that they are too. That's Littleton Jewelry right there south of Hudson Gardens on I-25. Go check them out, littletonfinejewelry.com. When we come back, Jim, everybody else on the phone, as well as all the other texters, we'll get to you. It's George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes, all in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
George Brauchler right back with you here. Listen, that break has taken, great call with Jim, by the way. That break, though, has taken us to this precipice point of right about the music, and I want to get Jim and his thoughts on this thing. Jim, if you are kind enough to stick around, and everybody else that's going to call in at 303-696-1971, you call in at the top of the hour. We will continue this conversation. It's one I don't want to see go away. There's a couple other things I wanted to talk about today as well, but this topic is an important one. Is this something where you make someone bend the knee? Here's one. May have the right to do that, but as owner or coach, I also have the right to say you might as well just stay here on the bench. Would that have been worse? If the coach had said, Provy, I'm not playing you because you won't wear the jersey, wouldn't that have made the issue even bigger and bolder? 303-696-1971. And of course, the text, they're on fire as well. We'll get to those. You stick around. It's George Brauchler on The George Show. You're listening to the mighty 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Well, you do have to keep them separated, as the song says. One guy's morning, one guy's afternoon drive time. His name is Stephen Tubbs. He is joining us now. And Jim, I promise we'll get to you after we have a good update here from Stephen. My man, thank you for getting out of bed before noon.
Brother, it's good to have you back on my radar, Pete. It's great to hear you in the mornings. I think you're doing a fine job.
I love you, man. What's going on?
By the way, so if you look to your right, is there a huge can of Lysol still there?
Oh, yeah, it's there. Yeah,
that's there because of you.
I hadn't seen it since the vid, man, and it was gone. And when I was hacking up all over this, I presume both you and Deborah have, in the most complimentary way possible, roach-like characteristics, because you have been unaffected by everything I have dumped out here on this microphone.
Brother, it's good to talk to you, and I hope you are feeling better and enjoy listening to you. Listen, this is the equivalent, and I thank you and Billy for letting me come on for just a couple seconds to talk about it. It's a really big night tonight in, of all places, Boulder, Colorado, USA. The Boulder City Council tonight is expected to adopt a resolution, and I think it's agenda item 3A as in Apple. And this is dealing with 2 appointments to the Police Oversight Panel, or POP. I think that's I know it's the acronym. I think it's the Police Oversight Panel. These are people that are going to, not be connected with law enforcement, but they are going to obviously be part of, let's take this panel and let's have this conference and let's review this and let's see how Boulder police officers are doing. So get this, one of many of the enemies of the Stephen Tubbs Show 4 to 7 on this very radio frequency, one of the many is the equivalent of Tay Anderson, but only in Boulder County. Her name is Lisa Sweeney Miron. Lisa Sweeney Miron. She tried to block us from Twitter permanently last year. It's been a bleep show, but this woman is a poison pill unless you, of course, are like her, which it scares me because there are a lot of people like her up in Boulder County, especially.
Yeah, sure.
But George, she is anti-cop. She's suing the city right now. She's suing the city because of its camping ban, etc. And it's expected to be just a mere formality that she will be appointed to the police. She hates police officers.
What?
She hates people like you. She's talked about abolishing police departments, and she, in Boulder County, specifically the city of Boulder, is expected to be appointed tonight. I understand through sources that Boulder police, other law enforcement members will be in attendance at the city council meeting tonight in Boulder that starts, I think, at 6 o'clock. I'm going to follow it throughout, but this would be, it's the equivalent of somebody that hates ice cream being placed on the Dairy Oversight Committee. It is absolutely.
Well, wait a minute. If you remember when Polis appointed to like the state ag committee, who wanted to put that anti-meat
100%.
person. Remember that?
Correct. It was like some pedo wacko, and she thankfully is no longer there.
Who makes the decision to appoint this person?
The city council. Now, Lisa Sweeney Miron, she is a moron, is what I call her. She is a member of the Boulder Valley School District.
Yeah.
So she is almost equivalent. I mean, I think she is the Tay Anderson. I don't know how racist she is, but we know Tay is. But she is the equivalent of Tay Anderson, and she is expected, without at least some public comment and some concern, she's expected to be appointed to this tonight. She's anti everything to do with law enforcement. George, she would even hate you
because
of your former position. No, it is. She'd hate you because of your former positions in law.
It sounds like what you're saying is this is like electing an AG who's never been inside a courtroom. No, I'm kidding. Because he doesn't hate the courtroom. He's just never been there. Are you going to have on at all Chief Jokers to talk about this thing?
Chief who?
The chief of police for Boulder?
Oh, I thought you said Chief Joker, and I'm like,
oh my God, no.
I didn't get that.
Nicola, if you could get Nicola Jokic on, that'd be great.
And he's a good one. Listen, I also hear, and I'm glad you brought the police chief up. It has been rumored she's going to resign.
What?
If these appointments happen. Now, I can't say for certain that's going to happen, but that's the scuttlebutt as we start our day on this Thursday, that if these appointments happen, that there is, let's just say this, I don't want to be too overly dramatic or speak out of turn, but it's accurate to say that there is the possibility that the chief of police in Boulder could resign if what happens tonight happens as expected, unless there's suddenly a change of heart with members of the Boulder City Council. So I know we are obviously, we don't focus a lot on Boulder from just the proximity of the station, but Boulder, we still have our eyes on you, and it's more, George, it's more insanity.
Actually, here's what this says, man. It says
logic.
The chief is Maris Harold. Okay,
Maris
began
Harold,
a professional career as a social worker and juvenile psychiatric intake worker before joining Cincinnati Police Department. Well, if she's going to resign, buddy, that's a problem, isn't it? I mean, doesn't it seem like maybe they need a chief of police, and that's a big protest vote?
Yeah, well.
But tell us again who you're going to have on, because I'm going to want to tune into this thing. If I wasn't airborne, I'd do it.
Well, here's the deal. I've tried to get on one of the sources I've tried to get on, and this individual right now cannot speak publicly on this because it's such a contentious issue. However, I'm just saying here's the shot across the bow that there could be potentially changes coming at the top of the Boulder Police Department if these appointments are just kind of like, resolution 3A. Yep, we all consent. We all approve this. It's more insanity, and does it surprise you that it comes out of the city of Boulder? Of course not. But I do know this, that the police association in Boulder, they are extremely against these two, in particular, Lisa Sweeney Miran, who is anti-cop all the way, and was, she'd be the one that would march arm in arm with, this is an example, by the way, just in case any lawyers are listening besides you. She's, as an example, would march arm in arm with BLM and Antifa in downtown Denver in the summer of 2020.
Yikes.
You see what I'm saying?
I do. Man, everybody, I'd love to tune in. I'm going to have to do the podcast now. You're going to stick me with the podcast. Which hour? 4, 5, 6? Do you know yet?
Oh, listen, this starts at 6, so we're going to definitely preview it tonight. This afternoon starting at 4, at 5 o'clock as well. And this is just something because, George, we can mock from down here outside of the People's Republic. We can mock Boulder all we want. But this type of thing, you know it. I hear you talk about it. We have for 2+ years. These types of things are not just in Colorado, crazy Colorado. These things are going on coast to coast. And this is how they, quote unquote, they just nibble and nibble and nibble. And then all of a sudden they're in a position to where they can maybe not cast a binding vote, but they can certainly, get their voices heard and whatever. And it's also in violation, George. Lisa Sweeney Miran of the Boulder Valley School District, on the Board of Education there, she's suing the city of Boulder right now because of the camping ban. And bring back the tents to the streets. You guys are inhumane. There is a conflict of interest here. And I'm telling you, hey, moron, if you're listening to 710 right now, you ain't heard nothing yet, baby.
Doesn't it seem like that there's a part of you that just roots for them to get everything they want? Like, Boulder, you should get to have the city you want.
As long as there are really large walls that would be constructed, to maybe keep those,
or at least streaming cameras, just streaming cameras where we can just tune in to see how it turns into Escape from New York or something like that. Stephen Tubbs, everybody, he is the anchor for the station. He is 4 to 7 p.m. your drive home, and for the mornings thereafter, keep him with you around dinner and download that podcast. We'll be listening, buddy.
Thank you, brother. Get well and safe travels to you, my friend.
Thanks. We'll talk to you soon. That was Stephen Tubbs. You've heard of him before. He's the guy that comes on the air later on in the afternoon. Sounds like a hell of a story, man. I wish I'd heard about that myself. Let's go to Jim. Jim, you're on 710 KNUS. Jim, we were talking about Provy and some of these other issues related to the wearing of the jersey and the taking of the knee and an employer. What are your thoughts on all this stuff?
Yeah, I just caught the tail end, but what team does he play for?
Philadelphia Flyers.
So if I was in Philadelphia right now, the best thing you could do is wear his jersey. I mean, for people that are tired of this, but I will say that when I heard the story, I think, God, this sounds a lot like Netflix and Dave Chappelle and his stance on that. And, this all comes down to what corporate media thinks about these things that's dictating to these corporations. It's just like, I'm just getting tired of the NFL having the teams on the back of their helmet said end racism. It's a throwaway line. I mean, I'm tired of sports preaching to me how I need to live my life or what I should think. They're out of their lane. They are out of their lane.
Is this another step towards, though, discouraging you from caring or watching? Would it cause you to leave? Like, are you a big NHL guy right now?
No, only when the Avs were playing.
Yeah, really. And
winning.
Much like basketball, man, I'm really only into it in the playoffs because half the damn teams make the playoffs. I feel like that's the best part of the season.
Right.
But I don't watch all the time.
Right. Well, I pay attention to the end of the season. That's where I more focus.
Well, based on what you said,
have
you changed your viewing habits or consumption habits for the NFL?
I did before. I had when all of a sudden they were taking the knee and all this stuff. I'm like, well, I don't need to watch it anymore, and I just basically turned it off. And I turned it off for a couple years, and then I just slowly came back, and I pay attention to a little bit of it. My viewing has gone way down on all the sports because, frankly, I'm tired. Major League Baseball, decided to move to Denver when they were playing the All-Stars, their game there, because they wanted to preach about how voting was going wrong in Georgia. I just got tired of it. I am tired of these millionaire and billionaires telling me how I need to live my life. They don't. Most of them have disgusting lives, when you find out about it, and yet they need to preach to me. I'm just tired of it. And I really respect them. I think people like this NHL player, as well as Dave Chappelle, they're artists when you think about it. There's very few people can do what they do, and that they are specialized. Let them do what they do best and not let them go outside of that.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Jeff in the last hour, though. Are you consistent in that belief? Look, Provy shouldn't have been asked to do that, but if he is, he has the ability to say no. Do you take the same approach with Kaepernick and the kneeling, or do you think that the way he did it was wrong? He should not be given the same opportunity, or should he go to the tunnel? How would you approach that?
Well, with his situation, first of all, he was professing a lie basically on all that whole stuff. I mean, he was preaching, and the point of if he decides he wants to do it, no, it's not the same. It's not the same at all. Because that's a lifestyle. What he's talking about, Provy, is talking about a lifestyle. I don't support, that that's my religion. Where's the religion that Kaepernick was preaching about? It's okay to shoot black people. That was bull. It's just crap.
Couple questions about that, Jim.
Absolutely ridiculous. No one agrees with that.
Does it matter if it's his faith that is directing him to do it, as opposed to him just saying, I'll take issue with the lifestyle thing in a minute, but if he were to just say, I just don't support the lifestyle. It's not religious. I just don't want to have to wear the jersey. Is that good enough, or does he have to have something more substantive? And who decides what that is?
I think that's fine. I mean, at this point, why are we even having those days or those months? We're not having like a Christian support month, are we? Are we having a Jewish support month? We're not having any of this stuff. Why is this
Billy
even
says
involved
that's
with
December
sport?
and Easter, but I don't think we wear the special jerseys for it. It's an important question, but if I'm going to be the NHL guys, what I'm going to say is, listen, these are values we subscribe to. We don't want to alienate any potential fans of hockey. We think hockey is not about sexual orientation or gender or any of that. We think it's about loving the sport for what it is. And therefore, we're going to reach out to these groups that have been potentially marginalized over the last however many decades. We want them to be part of this process. And oh, by the way, Jim, we want to sell jerseys. And so if we come up with these LGBTQ jerseys and we can capture folks that are hockey fans and gay, maybe we can make a little bit of money on the side and grow our market. What do you think about that?
Well, why don't they just put that jersey up and see how many people will buy it? I'd be happy to see that.
My guess is more would buy it if they see the players wearing it and skating around with it. That's just got to be the thing.
I disagree with you on that totally. I think that most people would say, no, that's not my class, so I'm not going to support that. Most people would just support the number, and they wouldn't be, just like just like, I see people wearing the Ukrainian, the bumper sticker of the Ukrainian flag and all that stuff. I talk to my kids about this and they're like, yeah, that's virtue signaling. And I'm just tired of the virtue signaling. That's what woke culture is, isn't it? I'm better than you because I support this. That's really what it comes down to.
If you were the player or you were an employee of a place that the uniform mattered, and your boss came to you and said, hey, Jim, I need you to do this, man. And he gives you all the reasons that it doesn't matter to me if you don't agree with it. I'm not asking you to endorse it. I'm asking you to wear the damn jersey because that's what we're doing to try to get this portion of our clientele, our base grown. What would you say?
Well, you have to look at it two ways. They're your employer, so they can tell you, you either wear it or you
that's what's
quit
going on with Pro, right? The employer.
Yeah, I mean, they can do that. He's got options himself to say, no, if you're going to fire me, good, I'll go to another team. It depends on how good he is, where they're not going to go down that road. Who's going to cross the Rubicon, the owners or the player?
Well, and the NHL's a union, I think, too, as Billy had pointed out. Jim, go ahead.
I'm just going to say I am so in our corporation. I was so tired of people, on emails on the bottom having the pride flag and race. They have all these things on the bottom of their emails and stuff like that, and it just disgusted me. Like, so what is that supposed to say? You support all these things as we all do, but you have to tell me about it. It's just not. It's not like when I walk around when I'm wearing my suit and I'm going to wear a big old cross on my shirt saying, well, I'm a Christian and therefore I'm better than you. I mean, I think it's in the same genre of that whole thing, trying to put someone else down because you are virtue signaling what you are.
Well, Jim, I can't thank you enough, man, for advancing the call. I think what you're saying, based on some of the texts have come in here, is resonating with folks. Jim's line is open, 303-696-1971. Let me tell you something else that resonates with listeners out there, because I just heard from another person who listens to the show and they lived nearby the Twin Aspen Dental. It was so convenient for them to just simply go out there and join the team. And that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Doctors Richter and Snyder, they're friends of the show. They're also folks who are invested in the best kind of dentistry, and that is a small family dentist practice that really appeals to everyone in the community. They're not looking to do the national chain thing, not looking to do the big box dental thing. What they're looking to do is to provide the kind of quality service where if you have been reluctant to come forward because of some sort of fear, some sort of apprehension about the dentist, they get you over that hump. I'm telling you, you go in there, they do the sedation dentistry and all that, but you're not going to need it, is my guess. These are folks who take such good personal care of you. I fell asleep twice in the chair with Shiloh doing her voodoo. It was fantastic. Here's how you also know that they value the community. They've got this reduced fee dental membership plan in anticipation of all the things going on in the economy and trying to get you the best bang for your buck and get you to have a better health outlook. Quality dental treatment shouldn't be out of your reach. The annual membership includes, wait for it, 2 cleanings. That's what you need every year. 2 routine exams. You get those as well. All necessary x-rays. The thing you don't want is the one emergency exam, but they've got that baked in, and fluoride applications for the children under the age of 18. You also get 25% off of all the other dental services that you could want. That's Dr. Richters and Snyder. We're going to have them back on. We have them on periodically to ask them about what's the most bizarre, outrageous thing you've taken out of a mouth or seen. What's the kind of crazy, somebody tried to bite through a steel bar? I don't know. I love those stories. They tell us more about each other than they do about anything else. These are just such good folks. Go be a part of it. They're my dentists. I'm going to go back down there. I think it's next month. I've got another cleaning. I'll look under the hood. I'll bring my pillow because I think I'm going to go a little nappy time in there. You join me. 303-841-7466. That's the number to call to set up the appointment. 303-841-7466. Or check them out at twinaspendentalcenter.com. That's twinaspendentalcenter.com. We're going to cut away for a break. We're going to come back with some breaking news about a guy named Alec Baldwin. Might he be a convicted felon sometime in the future? Stick around. George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes, all in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
George Brauchler right back with you here, 710 KNUS. This is the breaking news. Take a listen.
Alec Baldwin has consistently denied that he pulled the trigger of that Colt 45 here. But that FBI forensic, they say that there was no way possible that the functioning of that gun could have fired without him pulling the trigger.
More.
Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was the individual who put the ammunition inside of that firearm. Gutierrez-Reed said to her defense that there should have been no live ammunition on the set of Rust.
Now, that's a reference to two different individuals who are going to be charged by the Santa Fe District Attorney. She's the first judicial district attorney, named Mary Carmack Altweiss. I think that's how you pronounce that. She is accusing Alec Baldwin and that gunsmith person whose name I can't remember now, with counts of involuntary manslaughter. Now, on the one hand, it's affixing an accusation that says you're the cause of this death. On the other hand, involuntary manslaughter, best guess is, without looking into it more, and I will, low-level felony charge with no mandatory prison. It sounds to me like a probation-eligible type charge. Here in Colorado, we have a manslaughter, but we don't have a voluntary or involuntary. It's just straight-up manslaughter, and it's based on reckless conduct that leads to the death of another person. That's what we've got here. We also have criminally negligent homicide. Those are different. We'll get caught up on more of that, but I want to finish up with this topic here, or at least continue the topic. And we have a caller on the line. She has been a frequent guest of Pete's, first time for me. Rebecca, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Rebecca, have you followed at all this story involving this hockey player out of the Philadelphia Flyers who did not come out onto the ice to warm up wearing the selected LGBTQ plus jersey of the day?
So the whirlwind of the alphabet people is impossible to not follow, right? Because it's every leading news story and everything else, correct? The whole clan of letters, right? It's so frustrating to me to be like pulled into this group that just takes everything so personal. I mean, there's reasons for that, but it's just so political. It's sad. It's sad, and you know, it is a sad community. I feel bad for us.
Well, and Rebecca, and I know you said us, and we know who we're talking to, but since you're a first-time interview for our show, do listeners a favor. Yeah, describe yourself.
Sure. So I'm a transgender. I've been so for my life. It's a difficult road, of course, and I'm older. I'm in my 50s.
That's young.
So that's a rough, well, not in the sense of being in this community. You're older. Transgender is something that there's this huge uproar now, and trust me, I am extremely angry and extremely sad about many of the things that are happening. But you know, when I was a kid, there was no such thing as who I am, right? And who I am really is really who I am. But that's who I am. I am very conservative, so I don't fit the mold of that community in so many ways. But at the same time, I do, because I am part of that community, not necessarily by choice, but by who I am. And it is who I am. So I guess that's the quick version, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty quick version. Couple of thoughts, though. Couple of questions. You said you've been transgender for life. What does that mean when you say that?
Well, so since I was a very, very young child, I never felt male, ever.
Okay.
I mean, it's and through years, growing up as male, of course, because of the day, I repressed and really fought all of those things that are who I am in my internal core. You know, when you get up in the morning and you know who you are, I fought all of that, and I built an entire identity pushing that away. And eventually it takes over, because you can't fight it, because it's not, you're acting your entire life. And, you know, I believe some people have done that and successfully, but it just, at some point, it's just never worth it, because you never feel embodied.
Rebecca, when did you make the decision to live your life as a woman and take on, you know, a woman's name and all that stuff? When did you make that decision? You may have felt it your whole life, but when did you make that decision to come out and live that way?
So that is always that's an always in work progress, to be honest. And the reality is that part of what I do for a job, I cannot be female, and I can't explain why to that. So I still have to flex back and forth, which is very, very difficult on me psychologically. A lot of counseling has helped, but it is how I make a substantial living, and I can't go the other way. But I live entirely when I'm not working female, and that's been for years. But definitely after 40, way after 40, in my 50s, I think.
When you see efforts by professional franchises like the NHL and specifically the Philadelphia Flyers to outreach to a community that you're a part of, even if you don't agree on all the politics and the social stuff and all that, how does that impact you?
So I think, first of all, I feel like this inclusiveness is really great. What I don't like is that it's forced. So the fact that they are making, like you're wrong if you don't agree with it. And to me, that's first of all, one of the tenets of this country is religious freedom. And as intolerant as I feel some religions are, and as misguided as I feel like they are, no offense to anyone, of course, there are a lot of people that don't believe that who I am can exist. And I accept that. That's not my job to judge them. And it's funny because I would say that would be God's job to judge them. So let God judge them when that time comes, right? And if they were right, then they'll live their happy afterlife. And if they were wrong, they'll get punished for whatever it is. And I look at it that way, right? From a religious standpoint, a theological standpoint.
What if it has nothing to do with that? What if it's just somebody that's like, it's not religion. It's just me, man. I don't want to support that lifestyle.
Again, and I guess that comment should have been longer. This country, religious freedom, you can believe whatever you want. And so that doesn't have to be a religious belief. It can just be a belief. You know what? Some people don't believe in me. I'm a unicorn, right? So that's fine. I accept that. I understand that my reality is very difficult.
Rebecca, would you instead of one player, instead of just this Profi guy, this big time defenseman for the Stars, what if it was just like the whole team or all but one or two guys just decided we're staying in the tunnel, we're not wearing the damn jersey? How does that impact you? Does it feel insulting?
Not at all. Not one bit to me. And the problem with, again, the LGBT, there's so many letters anymore, the Alphabet Clan. The problem with that movement is that they get so sensitive about things like that, and they create so much noise and chaos and static, just nothingness, that then people react so in the negative. It's part of the reason there's so much anti-transgender, so much anti-everything. But at the same time, this country swings everything these hard ways. And so to me, I would walk down the tunnel and shake their hand. I'd be like, thank you. Thank you for standing up for yourself, because that's what this country needs, is people to stand up for themselves. I think if they did it in an aggressive way, meaning you are bad people because of this, but to just say, hey, I don't believe this, that's okay with me. I can't make you believe something.
You are definitely an outlier in this, at least outspoken wise. Maybe there are more folks that are part of the community that you're in that feel like you do, but man, are they quiet as church mice. So I don't want anybody to know who I am. I don't go out to gay pride parades or LGBTQ pride parades. Why not?
I don't fly a flag outside my window because to me, it's obnoxious. I just want to be who I am. Just leave me alone. Let me go to the grocery store. Every once in a while you get a stare. Every once in a while somebody questions. I look very female, and I've been in there. Pete's seen me, Bill's seen me. I don't look male. And so I don't get that as much. But the reality is that, there's a huge swath of this community, especially LGBT, especially lesbians and gays, who just blend in with the community and nobody knows who they are. Right? I mean, you have gay friends, correct? I've heard you talk about them.
Yep.
And are they politically active? Do they go to the pride parade? Do they?
I don't know about that part. Some of them do for sure. Some of them do for sure, and they're very out on social media and stuff like that. And
Yep. Well, and so does like Tim Trimble, right? Or What's Trimble, right?
Ted Trimpa, yep. And Arash Masala, yeah.
Yeah, both of them, they're very out, So and it's great that they're doing that, right? But some of us just don't want to be a part of that noise, and that noise is so distracting that it takes away from the core reality of it, which is that we just want to live our lives.
Rebecca, given your conservative leanings that you've described there, do you feel the same way about a Colin Kaepernick who takes a knee during the anthem, that too ought to be treated the same, or is there something different about that?
so that's different to me. And again, this is a personal thing, right? Because to me, I respect this country, and to me, the national anthem is something that you respect as a citizen of. To be blessed to be born in this country where, I'm not hung or thrown off of a building with blindfolds because I'm transgender, right?
Right.
So to be in this country is such a blessing for me. And when I look at someone like Colin Kaepernick, who is definitely lives in a repressed community, because I believe there is no doubt that there is still racism in this country, and because I see it through the
Sure.
LGBT class, right? So
Yeah.
if that exists, the racism is definitely ingrained. And my grandfather, God bless his soul, was the most racist man I've ever known in my life. And I look at how amazing it is that his daughter, my mother, is as anti-racist as possible, and I'm unracist, and how that feeds out. But my uncle is just as racist as my grandfather, and so are my cousins. And I'm thinking, these are 50-year-old cousins who are racist in 2022. How can this be? And it's just, so I
So what do
see
you
that,
do with a
and I
Colin
understand.
Kaepernick then?
Well, he stays in the tunnel. I mean, come on, grow up and be a man. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't agree with being here, if you don't agree with making millions of dollars in a system that affords you to do that,
It's such an
then
interesting
go sit
point.
in the tunnel.
I agree with the tunnel part. I'm loath to want to tell someone that they have to do a certain something. As much as I think that it concerns me that they don't think like that they don't want to, but I get it. But the idea of coming out onto the field and then taking the knee in that very visible, I disagree with you way is unnecessary. It would be like if Profi put on the regular jersey and skated around while everyone else was in the LGBTQ plus jersey and sending the message, I disagree. That's him promoting something else that he shouldn't be in the business of. If he's got an opinion, maybe just keep it to yourself, and maybe that's the tunnel.
Well, but on the flip side, if Kaepernick had come out and taken a knee once and then said, here's why I did it, and just let that be that, and then stayed in the tunnel, I would have honored that beyond any measure. Because if you do something once and make a statement, that's a statement. If you do it several times, it becomes the protest, right? And that's okay. But at the same time, it's just like, you're not making your point anymore. People now are just getting angry, right? Your protest didn't work. Does that make sense? I mean,
I don't mind. On the other hand, I don't mind people protesting, and I don't mind people annoying people with their positions, because sometimes people need to be annoyed in order to take a look at what they believe and why they believe it. However, in this captive audience, in this unique place of sports, which really should have nothing to do with politics at all, you got a guy who's willing to say, look at me, I disagree with you. That just feels different than Profi, who's like, I don't support it, but I'm not going to draw any attention to my disagreement. I'm just going to hang out here and sharpen my blades,
I agree with Profi, and here's the thing, he's also, I think he's from Russia, right? Or is he from Ukraine? I don't want.
He talks like he's from Detroit, which, by the way, doesn't say much of anything, but he's got to be from Russia or Ukraine, because that name.
I think he's from some, and the East is notoriously anti-LGBTQ, right? I mean, it is, and well, maybe I shouldn't say right. I don't know if everybody knows that, but that is, that whole former communist bloc still has a lot of that dislike still within the society as a whole, and so that makes sense. And also, it's a very religious-based society that pulled back into religion because they weren't allowed to have religion under communism, right? And so they swung way back into religion when they were freed from that don't go to the church, life that they were forced to live in for 60 years.
Well, Rebecca, let me just say this, but as we're running out of time, I really appreciate you giving the call in and letting us interview you on this topic. It's good to have your first, and I know it won't be the last time on the show. We'd love to have you back on. And listen, if there are things that come up in your world or even in that community that you think need to be talked about, but they're just not on our radar, give Billy a call, man. We can make that happen.
I'm sure he hates the fact that I have his private backroom number, so that's perfect.
No.
I will do it.
Anybody who's been into the men's room on the 6th floor has that same number, Rebecca. Don't worry about that. Thank you so much, Rebecca. We'll talk with you soon, okay?
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Hey, listen, when we come back, I want to get back into some of this breaking news here, update you on the things that we know about a guy named Alec Baldwin. But before we do that, I do want to, it's just sort of, the timing is good to tell you about a guy named Dan Kaplis. As I talked to Rebecca, and there's texters here that have come in and said, hey, she makes some great points and stuff. Why can't we all just get along, blend in? I should tell you that Dan is an obviously conservative person. He is very, very out there with his devotion to Catholicism, clearly a Republican. But all of that stuff is secondary, honestly. In fact, maybe some of it actually supports it, especially the Christian approach towards helping those regardless of background, regardless of lifestyle. I mean, this is not a guy who picks and chooses and said, I disagree with who you are, I'm not going to help you. That's just never been in my experience. And I worked for the guy for a couple of years. It's just never going to be the touchstone for Dan Caplis at dancaplisLaw.com. This is a guy that says, bring me anyone you got. If they're hurt because of someone's negligence, recklessness, intentional conduct, and the big guy isn't treating them fair, then let this guy at the big guy. And that big guy is the insurance company. I will make things right. This guy will champion you for no other reason than you need a champion. That's exactly the kind of attorney that you want to call. This isn't a bottom line guy. This isn't a guy who listens to your story and thinks it's only worth X number. That's not how it works with Dan and Bobber. How it works with Dan and Bobber is they're like, what can we do to help? Is there a claim to be advanced here that will help fix whatever somebody took from you or broke of yours? And if the answer is we can never get it back to 100%, and that's usually the answer, folks, then what can we do to try to offset that change in your life, that change in the quality of your life, the pain you have to deal with, the loss of the opportunity to do something? Dan Caplis is the guy to call. And you can do that at 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551. He and Bobber Waheed champions for your cause. Check them out at dancaplisLaw.com. That's C-A-P-L-I-S, dancaplisLaw.com. When we come back, we're going to update you on the Alec Baldwin stuff. We'll take any other texts and phone calls that we have and wrap it up for George's last show of the week. Until next week, it's George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Run, don't walk to the hills. George Brauchler right back with you here at 710 KNUS, our final segment. That's just enough time to do a couple great things. And one of them is to tell you about somebody named Gay Ribble. In this real estate market, you have a lot of choices. There are a lot of realtors out there, but there's only one Gay. And what makes Gay and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams Realty special is two big things. One, their expertise. Gay's been doing this for decades in the metro area. She has seen every kind of real estate market, including the crazy one we're in right now, where it's like, are rates going to go up because inflation's still up, or is inflation not up enough? They're going to lower the rates. And is it the right time to sell? Is it the right time to buy? How do I do that? You don't have to deal with the stress of that on your own. Call the stress reliever. That's Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams Realty. They'll do it all for you. They'll get you out of your house for top dollar and into that dream house for the best deal going. But they'll do it with a guarantee. That's what nobody else does. She will promise to sell your 100% of asking price guarantee program. Promise to sell your house for their dollar amount you agree upon in the time you agree upon, or they make it right with cash. You can go to the website, gayhasthebuyers.com. Of all the people that has the buyers, Gay's got the most. 14,000 plus buyers in waiting. Gay, G-A-Y-E, hasthebuyers.com. The phone number, it's the only number you need, and it's the one you got to use, 833-301-SOLD, 833-301-SOLD. And you don't have to take my word for it, because she'll make you take hers by saying, I will put my word in writing, and I'm going to put my name on it. I'm going to put my signature on it. You hold me accountable for those promises. Isn't that what you want in business every single day? Gay Ribble, Empower Home Team, Keller Williams Realty. Gay Ribble, gayhasthebuyers.com, gayhasthebuyers.com. Now listen, in the final moments that we have here, I want to keep updating you on Alec Baldwin. Here's more.
Baldwin has always maintained his innocence, saying he wasn't responsible for the deadly shooting. Von Hilliard is on the scene in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
But that FBI forensic, they say that there was no way possible that the functioning of that gun could have fired without him pulling the trigger.
Cinematographer Helena Hutchins was shot and killed when Baldwin fired the prop gun loaded with a real bullet. Armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed is also facing the same charges as Baldwin. I'm Michael Kastner.
Yeah, there's nobody on the planet Earth who knows anything about guns that'll say you're off the hook for not checking a gun you put in your hand and pull the trigger, a functioning gun. If it's a toy, maybe. But nobody would put a gun in your hand and expect that, I guess I can do whatever I want with it. I'm not responsible. You pulled the trigger. You are the safety on the set, my man. And that's where this comes from. Here's what the statute reads like in New Mexico, because we don't have this exact one here. It says manslaughter is the unlawful killing of a human being without malice. Okay, here's where it gets to be involuntary. Involuntary manslaughter consists of manslaughter committed in the commission of an unlawful act not amounting to felony, or in the commission of a lawful act which might produce death in an unlawful manner or without due caution and circumspection. Holy words. Let's read the voluntary manslaughter part. It consists of manslaughter committed upon a sudden quarrel in the heat of passion. So what this tells me is this wasn't based on a sudden quarrel or heat of passion. It was unintentional for sure, but it resulted in a death from an unlawful act that was not a felony. I'm taking a look at the statute here to see what the sentencing looks like. I have not found the prison range, and it's because, folks, I'm just trying to scan for it right here. Hang on. Fourth class felony. Oh, by the way, the class felony that this is, it says whoever commits involuntary manslaughter is guilty of a fourth degree felony. Now, for a fourth degree felony, it's up to 10 years imprisonment. There's also a fourth degree felony of 18 months imprisonment. I don't see the distinction because it's all broken down in a very, very interesting New Mexico kind of way. And he can get up to, I believe, it's a $5,000 fine. I don't think it's mandatory prison in this case. But whether Alec Baldwin goes to trial to resist this or tries to come up with a deal will be interesting, because none of this can be good for him. Nobody that has gone to court recently as a media person has looked all that great, including Johnny Depp, Amber Heard. They both come away looking a little broken, right? I don't know what this guy does other than to stand up and say, I eat responsibility. Please don't make me a felon. Please don't send me to prison or jail. I'm so sorry for what I did. I have to live with killing this woman, and I'll try to make it right with her family as much as I can. That's probably the most we can hope for. But again, it's Alec Baldwin. Dude's a little self-righteous, and he's very, very left, but that shouldn't color your view of what should happen in terms of justice. Hey, listen, that does it for me for today. Johnny C. tomorrow. Then we go Deborah, Jimmy, and John again. I'll be back next Thursday. That doesn't mean you have to stop listening. In fact, I want you to listen and pummel the other guys with the calls and the texts. It's George Brauchler on The George Show. See you in a bit, 710 KNUS.